What is it? It's genius, man.
You know the best part about that is I started recording right when you go, "What is it?" and then you stop talking about it.
Nice. So is Noah like driving 900 miles per hour towards the studio?
I mean, that's like his normal driving.
He does drive crazy, I hear. I've heard multiple reports that Noah is a very fast driver. Yeah.
Nice.
And he drives like a big Suburban, if I recall. Like it's not something you want somebody to be driving fast in.
The only time I ever rode him,
it's like
it was a rental
90,000
car,
pounds.
so I don't know. I just remember going, "It's interesting." In comparison, I'm a grandmother.
What did you think about my driving, Michael?
So, other topics.
It's live, so yeah, I'll plead the fifth.
Yeah, other topics we can talk about are...
You got to drive in the Linux Honda. I mean, that was a treat.
It was something for sure.
Yeah.
I think it was okay as far as like...
You're alive, so there's
That's
that.
true. That's true. For the most part, you're a decent driver. It's just you're...
Did you have that feeling, though, that once you'd let go of the overhead stanchion, that your muscles had seized up a bit? You had to sort of massage them to get your grip back?
Right. He wasn't that bad.
I think I almost killed Michael just once. But other than that, I think there was a turn or something where we almost got killed.
You don't drive too fast, but you do take turns sharply. That's about it.
Yeah. Which isn't a problem for me because I'm short, but Michael, his head ends up hitting the window.
I used to be like that when I had my MG, but not anymore.
All right, so I got a story to tell you because someone said Disciple said in a rental they get insurance and drive crazy. So we got the biggest U-Haul that you could rent to pack our house, right? I think it was 25 foot, something like that. Big monstrosity of a truck. And my wife, because I was working, ended up bringing it home. And in any case, everything was fine. We had to back it down the mountain, back it around the mountain to get into the driveway to pack it all up, but she did all of that. So my job was to drive it to the new house. And so I get in this big monstrosity of a truck and I drive my little Honda normally. My wife drives a pickup truck, funny enough, but I drive the Honda. And so I'm driving and I'm getting down the mountain, which I had to stay in first gear and use a lot of engine braking and things like that so that it didn't end up losing control and going off the mountain. But I made it. Everything was fine. But then I've got to go get gas. Now, the gas stations here are full packed out, right? Because you've got basically a Quick Trip and a Racetrack are the biggest gas stations that could even hold a truck this big. So I come around and, Michael, I turn too tightly towards the gas pump. And I realized that the gas pump isn't in the back of the truck. It's in the very front, so I've pulled up too far. So I start reversing. And as I reverse, right across the black, they had like a black post there.
Oh, nice.
Right? Turn too tightly.
There you go.
So anyways, I drive off, leave that gas station.
Naturally.
And go to the next gas station. Take a wider turn, fill it up with gas. Anyways, I return it to the U-Haul place, but they're too busy to do their normal inspection. So they're like, all right, well, you guys go. And I'm like,
that's convenient.
It didn't really do any damage. It was just a big black streak across the bottom panel of the U-Haul paint streak. That was my drive. That was my truck driving experience there, Zeb. So
that's why when we did our first bus training, they didn't let us out of the depot until we'd got used to the width. And thankfully, the only thing that we mashed up in the first 2 hours was the cones on the ground. And like you can imagine, it's in South London, so the driving instructors are a little bit, English Bob personified. And
I like that description.
I think the biggest expression that I kept getting was, "Do you not have any concept of what 30 foot is?" Because I just kept turning in, like, you turning in too tight, and then because every time you went over one of these bollards, like, he would sort of go, "Oh, Brian, you've killed me."
Yeah, exactly.
I must have killed about 20 before I realised, no, it's 30 foot, drive past, and then turn in. But I got there in the end, so it's all good.
Now, when you're driving,
that's why you don't like caravans.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, when you see a caravan in real life on the road, do you?
Are you
do
tempted?
it so much in the game? Are you tempted?
Well, it's funny because I actually sent English Bob a WhatsApp video of me sitting at the lights, and I was sort of like pretending I was twitching, and I turned the camera around and showed him the caravan. So no, I must admit I have thought a couple of times. Oh look, there's one. No, it's driving. Calm down.
Well, there is this phenomenon that I can't really explain. Maybe it's just me. But Grand Theft Auto, if you play Grand Theft Auto for because when you play the game, when it released, maybe it was the third one or whatever, where I just played it for hours on end, and then you get in a car, your mind's still on that idea of, do I gun it and wreck into stuff, or you don't do it, but your brain's kind of going there. So
it goes like, oh, Granny, 90 points. Oh, no, hang on. That's someone's grandmother. Stop.
For me, it's the opposite. It makes me less likely.
Oh, really?
You always got to be different, Michael.
Well, I mean, it's when I get out of because it's third person. When you get out of it, you're not in third person anymore. So for me, it just kind of breaks it.
So, Disciple, you said you got the same U-Haul. Did you run yours into a gas station too, or did you get the one I ran into a gas station?
Every time you kept saying that you were driving the mountain, I kept thinking, why did Kirk climb the mountain?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's going to be sending you the bill because he got damaged because they thought it was him.
Probably. Yeah.
Hang on. I've got allergy problems again tonight.
I heard that as I have Ali G problems. The rap. You did the online return. That's smart. That's a smart way to do it. Yep. That way they check it in, but they can't inspect it. I had to pack the U-Haul on an angle. So the U-Haul, because the driveway in the house in the mountains was up a mountain, so you kind of went down this driveway. So we had to park it at an angle. Now imagine trying to pack a U-Haul at an angle. The only way to do it is a way that I think I invented, called the Spider-Man packing method. You push a bunch of boxes against the wall, you run a bunch of wires and create a web, and then you do the next section and do the same thing all the way back into it. Yeah. And
did you use rope or did you use those elasticated bungee things?
I used twine, although in some cases, like when it was something really heavy, we used those wrenching straps or whatever they call them.
You could have backed up and used gravity to hold it.
But then we couldn't back out.
Yeah, you drive out.
If you drove it down nose first, you'd have had to reverse out, and that would have been a nightmare.
The hill is going down that way. You're going up, so you're holding it that way. If you back up, then you just go down straight.
Well, we'd had to go around, carry everything around, and put it into the back. I guess you could do that. Could have done that too.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying,
No, that's interesting though. We didn't really think about it. Well, the reason we backed it there is because you could get off the porch and then we could carry everything off the porch right up, but we still had to do it at an angle and it sucked. It was terrible.
That's better if you going around.
If we had to go all the way around. I mean, it's not a bad idea, Michael.
I mean,
where were you when we were moving? That's the question.
So when you move again in 2 years' time, you'll think about it, yeah?
No,
he just won't live on a mountain.
Flat drive. My driveway is completely flat. There's no problem.
I like the way you didn't say I'm not moving.
No, I think we'll probably move again eventually.
Yeah,
it's kind of my thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm lucky. I've been here since 1984.
Yeah, although I really like this area, and the schools are incredible, and the kids have a yard, and that's kind of amazing. Just yesterday, my wife went out to get her nails done and her hair did and all that stuff, and I could just take the kids outside, and we just ran around and played, and it was like, wow. It's amazing having a yard.
Yeah. And we're quite lucky here as well because literally 2 minutes walk around the corner. Hobnobs, good man.
What did you call me?
Hobnob.
A hobnob.
That's what I was trying to show you yesterday. The hobnob.
Oh, I see. Right, the hobnobs. Yeah.
These are actually way better than the regular digestives.
Yeah.
These are awesome.
We've got a little public park we can just run around in, and they've got a little boating lake and a paddling pool for the kids and all that sort of stuff. So it's really good for the children around here.
Linux Paul's going to get a house next year and only doing it once. That's the way you should do it. I have a tendency, though, to move. I don't know why. I guess I pick bad spots.
I used to move like every year.
Yeah.
No way.
But I also was like at the time just a minimalist who lived in an apartment and stuff. So my moving was not that big a deal.
Well, you can make a lot of money moving. And I guess that's probably why I end up like, you know, like if you keep a house and you do some basic maintenance to it, and like this house is a fixer upper in a way, well, minor things that I can do, which isn't a lot, but you know, painting and patching and stuff like that. But by the time you're done doing all that stuff, their value just keeps going up, and then you can make good cash on them.
Well, that's where I really scored, because in 1984 it was only 37,500.
Oh my gosh. And in general, I'm sure it's worth what, 10 times that today?
They're about 250K.
Oh my gosh, man.
But you'd have to spend 300 to move somewhere better. So you're not going to, although you've made it, you'd still have to spend it. So unless we moved into a little 1-bedroom house just for me and the missus, which we're not going to do because we like it here. It's not a very big house, but it was enough for us growing up. So that's good.
Yeah. Plus you got all the memories and stuff there that way.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And the ghosts.
Yeah, I don't believe in ghosts, so I'm not worried about that.
Oh, they exist, Zeb. They just won't mess with you. That's why you don't believe in them. No, I'm teasing. 600,000 CHF this one, but don't compare prices between Switzerland and the rest of the world. Wow. What's 600,000 CHF in US dollars?
Probably about 100,000. Maybe 200,000.
No, how about 603,000?
Well, it's almost one per dollar.
What? Yeah. Swiss francs are that high?
That's what it says in DuckDuckGo conversion.
Wow.
What?
That's crazy.
That's what you get for making guesses.
Yeah. Apparently the Swiss Army knives are doing well around the world because they're worth a lot.
Totally, that is the thing.
Because that's all you guys export there: Swiss cheese and Army knives, right?
And impenetrable bank accounts.
Impenetrable bank accounts. That's right.
They've actually
you've got your Swiss bank account. That's where they make their money from.
The Swiss banks actually lost all that stuff.
The disciples said, "I don't think it's that high. The dollar's just that low, probably." Oh yeah, they make watches also. You're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, between watches, Swiss Army knives, and cheese, that's good. Those are good exports, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They actually don't do the bank account thing anymore. That was actually they passed a law that automatically deterred that. So within an hour of posting the latest episode of This Week in Linux, where I have System D in the title, within an hour, System D hate. As I expected. It just amuses me.
Oh, what you mean? Posts and or emails and or comments?
Oh yeah, it was a comment within an hour. Yeah.
I'm surprised all the bad comments you get are just towards me, even though I have nothing to do with the show. It seems to be the theme.
That's interesting.
Ryan does this. Ryan's a hillbilly. Ryan's this.
Yeah, that hillbilly thing.
Ryan's
really
a sexy
weird.
man.
Thank you, Noah. See, bring it.
He was just quoting his wife.
That is not false, is what that is.
I love how this is turned around because it's my wife that was in love with Noah, and we just need to meet.
Yeah. No, or we need our wives to get in love with each other, huh?
Yeah.
Oh. Michael's lost.
We got Michael, man. We got him good. He lost it on that one.
Oh man, you messed up my hair on that one.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Is my microphone good at volume?
Yes, fine.
Really?
Okay, cool.
Some people might think it's too loud, but they're just being nasty.
Right. Turns out my volume was actually much lower than earlier, so like the recordings were slightly off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Plasma had it 84% for some reason.
I hate it when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, Pulse does that every now and again on here. It's like suddenly drops down to 94%, and I'm thinking, why? I never asked you to move.
Yeah, exactly.
I never touched it.
Right. Like I'd rather control it in OBS anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Just present good levels to me and let me. What am I stepping on?
See, it's gone down to 86%. Is there some sort of automatic leveling thing on?
In Zoom, there is, yeah.
No,
Yeah, because it took mine down to 0.
No, on my Pulse.
It could be.
My own personal computer. Because that's annoying. Because I've probably gone up quite a bit louder now because it's now gone from 86 to 100. I don't know.
It's too loud. We could still hear him, it says. Matthias.
Yeah, but who's that to?
I don't
Michael
know.
or me?
It's got to be me.
And now I've taken the gain off all the way. Is that any better? Or is it not as loud?
It's not as loud. I liked it with the gain personally, but.
Huh.
You just figured out how to hit record? And he's gone.
I figured out that the order is just me moving myself.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
So the patrons are definitely on board here because they've got enough disk space. Is the wavy lines moving?
I love it.
Has he done all the system checks yet? It's just
Answer each one individually, Michael. Do you have enough disk space?
Yes, I checked that earlier. Thank you.
Okay. Do you see little wavy lines going across the screen as I'm talking right now?
Yes, I do.
And do you see wavy lines as you're talking?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And have you taken the show snapshot?
No, because Noah just got here.
Sorry.
No, I was just
so
giving an excuse.
I'm so bad at time calculations. It's not even funny.
You're not the only one.
That's why I typically send you like direct messages.
Yeah, and you did too. You don't, but not only that, like you converted it for me, and I still managed to it up. You know?
Hey, no, I know you got a lot of tech gear, but I bet you don't have something like this, do you?
What in the blazing saddles is that?
Yeah, I know. You're jealous. This, my friend, holds your phone on your table in portrait mode while you watch video. And it comes in dusky green. So there you go, man.
So stupid.
Jelly out of 10. What can I say? Jelly out of 10.
Jelly out of 10.
I don't know what else. I don't. Here, hold on. Do I have any
I use this.
Wow, that is so yesteryear.
What? This is awesome. These are the best
No,
things.
that is old school. This is
Old
this
school
is-
by like 6 months. What are you talking
look
about?
at this. This is an advancement in technology.
No.
Yeah, but
'Cause it looks
Michael,
like
what
ham.
happens when you put that inside inside your jacket pocket? Have you got sort of like there's your phone and there's like a suddenly grown a? It's like what's?
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest maybe hanging it out your pocket, man.
It goes flat.
Yep.
Tish.
It goes flat. Yeah.
It goes flat, and it's not super flat, but it's the distance is not enough to bother.
It's enough to stop it from. Yeah.
It won't.
Dark
It'll
One wants
snags
to
a little
know
bit.
if this means we could just have a show of Noah and Zeb now because Michael and Ryan got fired. No, you can't.
Well, we could do that. No, we could do that. Ryan and I could do a show. It wouldn't be recorded, and
Or
there
released.
we're released, and there would be no show prep because there would be no doc created or articles researched or topics assigned.
Exactly.
But yeah, other than that, Zeb and I could do a show. If you're okay with those small compromises.
Yeah.
I'm hosting this week. All right. Y'all are in trouble.
Yeah.
You're on my block now. All right, we ready?
Ready to roll.
Huh? No, we gotta do the.
Screenshot.
We
Did you
gotta
get
do
the
screenshot.
screenshot?
Yeah, screenshot. We gotta do that.
Okay.
Get your phone holder.
Of course he is.
Naturally.
It's hard to show it. There we go.
No, just a bit to your right again. Yeah. No, the whole phone.
Oh, you want to cover my face? Shut up.
It took him long enough.
Brilliant. You gonna take the screenshot here? My arms are getting tired.
I did it. It's good.
Okay.
Wow.
Is that one of those videos on YouTube where they go, no, just go back a bit, just go back a bit, just go back a bit, and they fall in the swimming pool?
Yeah, exactly. It took me way too long to get what you're going for.
We ready?
Oh, don't make me cough.
Yeah, I'm good.
Welcome to episode 101 of Destination Linux. This is a podcast made up of mostly intelligent-ish individuals discussing our love and passion for everything Linux and open source. My name is Ryan, and with me today are three other pals that I have. Michael, how are you this week?
I'm doing fantastic.
I was hoping you would be like, I'm not your pal friend, but you did not pick up on that little blurb there.
I'm not that type of person, guy.
Yeah. And Zeb, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty good this week. Thank you very much.
And of course, our good friend Noah, who is almost on time.
I had a calculation error. Math is hard.
Yeah, it happens that way. So, Michael, what have you been up to this week, sir?
So I've actually been doing a lot of prep work for various different podcasting utilities. I built some scripts and more scripts and stuff. But what's something that I did recently was I actually started to clean out my computer. So when you do like video reviews or you do like a news show or podcast, you try out some software. And I forgot to remove the software that I didn't use. So yesterday I went through getting rid of all the applications that I didn't need. I found about 30 I didn't need. I decided to keep 10 of them just because to see if I might use it, and then got rid of the other 20. So I cleaned out about 2 gigs worth of packages that I didn't need. So,
oh, wow. So you have plenty of recording room now for this episode. That's fantastic.
Tons. It's totally not going to be ruined.
Because we got a whole 2 gigabytes. So, I mean, were any of these apps that made it to your maybe list? You going to give us a hint of some of the maybes there that were on?
Well,
that were left?
Yeah, there's actually a few things that I got rid of that were interesting. Like there was some, like GIF Curry was pretty cool. I got rid of it because I didn't really use it that much, but it's a cool...
Gift Curry. You gift curry to people randomly?
It's called GIF Curry, and it's an app that
Curry
converts video into GIFs.
All right.
It's kind of cool, but I didn't need it, and I was playing around with it because they had a release, and I was like, it is cool, and then like overall I don't use it, but it's a nice concept, and I got rid of a few things that are like that where it was very cool, and I decided to just try it out, but it's not worth keeping because I don't use it enough. However, there was one that how there's a screenshot tool called Shutter, and it's one of the most known screenshot tools because it has this editing feature and stuff. I got rid of it because I found something way better. It's called Flame Shot, and it does everything that Shutter does and a lot easier, and the editor is built into the screen capture tool. Like the actual, like you don't go into an editing mode, you just edit directly on the screen capture while you're doing it. It's really
very cool. Nice. All right. And Noah, what have you been up to this week, my friend?
We actually built out, we're remodeling our house. It's like a ongoing process. And we recently got to one of the rooms where I'm kind of building out my lab, my lair, my area. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm incorporating all sorts of cool technologies. Just got all of the broadcasting stuff done so that I can do remote broadcasts. So I'm going to actually do the Ask Noah show from there. On
nice.
Yeah, we're going to do a live episode. It'll be cool to be able to do that right from my basement. Just be able to walk into a room and do that. Of course, the entire thing running Linux.
Yeah, naturally.
It's tied into the automation system in the house. So when the quote unquote when the studio goes live, it will automatically mute the speakers for the Raspberry Pi that's running Volumio, that's playing inside of the bedroom. And yeah, so it's been pretty cool in being able to play with that technology. And then obviously I've kind of become a Rivendell fanboy, and I've just started using it to automate everything under the sun, like things that it wasn't even really designed to, just because it's such a powerful piece of software. And so that's sitting kind of at the heart of that room. But that's my Linux project for the last 2 weeks.
Nice.
And Zeb, what kind of trouble you've been getting into?
Well, I think you'd be proud of me. I actually streamed a game other than ETS.
I was
this
shocked.
week. Yep. So I had a quick go at Vikings Wolves of Midgard.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it, it looks like I am the ultimate slayer and I am killing everything left. It's on do not hurt me mode. the lowest of the low.
That's all right.
So I've got up to the stage now where there's just this big bad guy, some rock monster in a cave, and I can't kill it. So I've actually got to go and read the manual, which is shocking because I've no idea how to kill him, what armor to put on, whether I should be using me sword or me sledgehammer. I don't know. So, but no, it was good. It was enjoyable.
So let me ask, we covered Wolves of Midgard. I really like this game. I've played it with Dark One even online. It was so good. I was even going to play a game with Dark One, if that tells you something about it. But what was your...
Got him.
Had to get that in there. So what were your thoughts on the game, Zeb? What would you give it here out of 5 stars, maybe, so far?
Well, out of 5 stars, I would definitely give it a 4 straight off the bat.
Nice.
Because even a non-gamer like me can get the hang of it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And on this, do not hurt me mode, it only takes a couple of slashes of the sword and the wolf goes down, or the rock monster dies, or the whatever. The difficult thing is when you then start getting up to the bigger bad guys, you've got to start learning key combos.
Yeah.
Unless you've sat down and read the manual, or you've worked out that halfway through the fight, drop the sword, pick up the sledgehammer because it's a rock, so maybe a sledgehammer is better than a sword to try and battle your way through rocks. So it's all those little nuances. But yeah, definitely a 4 stars out of 5. And once I get used to it, and maybe I can get it up onto the normal level, I'll be able to give it 5 out of 5. But it's very easy on the eye. It doesn't make me feel queasy. There's no weird movements.
Yeah, it's like Diablo, top-down fighter, and you need to come join Dark One and I as we play, and I can carry both of you then through the game.
That sounds good to me. I like that.
And I actually played that game too. It is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I have to ask: do any of you ever play Counter-Strike Global Offensive?
Yes, not very well, but yes.
Yep.
Okay, because I want an invitation to that.
Oh heck
thing.
yeah, man! We're gonna get
Yeah,
Jamie.
Here's the thing: I don't game, but I game when it comes to Counter-Strike.
Okay, nice. I game, not with Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I play
it's
it.
going
I'm
to
not
be
good,
bad.
but I would love to do some rounds with you, so we got to set that up for sure. We could even make a charity stream out of it. Get Noah to play games, CS:GO. Come on, it's worth it.
Get him to play
I
games.
donate to my own charity. That was the thing.
Right. All right, so what do we have in email this week, Michael?
Oh, we got a really interesting email from Will, and it starts out by saying, been listening to the podcast for a while. I'm so glad that Noah has joined the crew. I like the new vibe, and congrats to Zeb from coming over to Mozilla. I agree. I've been using it in full time now myself for about a month, and I love the Facebook container stuff. As also agreed there. I heard him ask about email clients, and I came back to my original favorite, Evolution. GNOME 3 uses parts of Evolution Stack to have notifications, calendar sync, and all that stuff work with the shell. And he said it's just as good as I thought, especially since I use aliases, and the support is built right in for aliases. And he said one question I like to get you guys to address is I use InPass as my password manager, and I have an Android phone, and I wanted to use Firefox Mobile, but InPass doesn't or currently doesn't work with it because of some event handling thing that Firefox does. But Chrome does do it. Can you guys look into this and maybe talk about it? Also, I love Ryan's hat. The hats he wears. Just wonder where he finds them. And yes, I've Googled for them.
I get this question a lot, interestingly, and I would love to be able to make a market out of it, but they're actually very expensive to make these hats. I have each one custom made, the gray one that you've seen before and this one, and they cost me like $32. So I couldn't sell them because it'd be like $45 a hat to make. But hey, if somebody's out there does a printing service, the Linux hats, man, I get asked a lot about getting a hold of these type of hats for them. So maybe we'll find a way to cut down the cost of creating them and get them out there.
That'd be cool.
But related to the question on the Firefox and NPass password manager, I know, Michael, you use Bitwarden. I use Bitwarden and LastPass together. I use the combination. Zeb, what do you use?
I use Bitwarden both on the PC and on the phone. It's not for me, it's not as well integrated on the phone. It doesn't automatically fill in your passwords for you, but it's there and you can easily flick between the two and cut and paste. So
yeah, it can autofill. You have to you have to pay attention to it when you click on any. It works on the browser too. I've tried it a couple times in the browser and it works fine. It might not work every time, but I do use Firefox Mobile. If you click on the password field, and it will notification will pop up in your notification section. You can slide down and then it will let you choose to auto infill there.
Right. Okay. I'll keep an eye on that. See what happens.
And Noah, which one do you use?
I'm on Bitwarden.
Bitwarden too.
The thing is, I either the multipass or Bitwarden or KeyPass. I'm kind of in between, but the one that has all of my passwords in it is Bitwarden. It's self-hosted, open source. It has a hosted component if you decide that you're too lazy to host it yourself, which I kind of like the idea of being able to pass it off to the cloud if I ever wanted to.
Right.
And it does two-factor. So I have it synced with my YubiKey. So I can do everything that I could do on LastPass, except I can self-host it. So it's sitting on my box and not somebody else's computer.
Nice.
So not sure how to fix the NPass issue with it not working in Firefox Mobile, but maybe it sounds like try one of the other password managers, Bitwarden specifically, and you may be good to go on there because I'm not sure why it's not integrated. Other than that, definitely bring it to their attention. You'd be surprised some of these companies and the support models that they have. You'll be surprised a lot of them how bad they are, but you may get surprised that they have good ones too. And I don't know about NPass, so reach out to their support, let them know it's not working. Reach out to Firefox and see if they'll come up with a solution there. But we've brought it to the attention of the world for those who watch and listen to Destination Linux. So if somebody out there works for either of those, maybe they'll look into it. And I also found it funny. He kind of gave a shout out signature there, Zeb, in his closing line. He's hunkered down on some GNOME love there.
Mm-hmm.
Ubuntu 18.10 user, GNOME shell forever! Exclamation mark. So there you go. Thank you, Will, for your email.
Well, I suppose there had to be one GNOME lover out there somewhere.
Shots fired.
Yeah. So on your emails, I always bang on about this and ask you to send them in, but we're coming towards the end of the year. So what we'd like to hear from you this time is what distro and desktop environment do you think was the most innovative this year, 2018? So send us your top tips. Send us let's say your top three. Or if that's just too much, just send us your top one. Will be fine. And then we'll pick through them and talk about them on the next show.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome to find out about. So some interesting things going on in the news. We have Gparted has a new release. Now, Gparted has been a savior of mine for a long time. I guess it's one of those things where it's the first, GUI-based partition management tool I used in Linux, and so I'm partial to it. I love it. I use it every time, no matter what desktop environment that I'm in. And they have a new stable release out there for their Gparted Live bootable tool out there, which I did not know existed. I guess I just haven't needed it, but this is pretty cool. So apparently you could put this on a live USB drive, and this will allow you to create, delete, resize, move, check, disk recovery, copy partitions, files over, everything along those lines, utilizing this tool here. Mm-hmm. There was an interesting thing that happened in our Telegram this week where an individual had locked themselves out of their encryption on their drive. Their password wasn't working once they changed their desktop environment. It turns out that it just happened to be they were using the wrong password. But they swore at first that they were using the right password, so we're kind of going through some troubleshooting steps. And one of them was potentially I had seen there were areas where if you changed your video card drivers that the GUI accepting the password for Nautilus in certain cases wasn't centered correctly and the text wasn't fully going in and caused issues like that. So I thought that's where we were at, but this could be an alternative to basically booting into this, manually mounting that partition and then decrypting it from here. Couldn't it, or no?
You could do that way. Most of the time people use it as kind of like a rescue option. So like if you couldn't mount the drive, you could mount it and get the files off of it that way. As long as the drive is not corrupted and the files are not messed up. It's like if it's,
or you just boot into recovery mode, which I think we recommended. But so there's certainly some interesting use cases here. It was updated to Linux kernel 4.18.20-2. So getting on the later kernel there, and some updated packages and improvements, adding support for copying and moving unsupported partition content, add Minix file system support, recognize APFS, which is the Apple file system, and GTK2 code modernization. So Gparted, something I love, a tool I love. Definitely go check it out on their live USB release if you need to do any special tasks like that.
Yep, it's really good.
I feel like between that and Clonezilla, like those are the two things that every system administrator has to have on their person 100% of the time.
Yeah,
like there
absolutely.
are a few tools. Well, and system rescue CD.
Yeah, maybe even Test Disk and PhotoRec.
Well, Test Disk and PhotoRec are on System Rescue CD.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, they come part of the suite. Yeah. So if you've got those three flash drives, you're pretty much equipped to fix like any problem ever. Maybe you guys have seen, maybe you haven't. There was a meme on Reddit showing a representation of different kinds of desktop and environments based on the body types of different guys. And Gnome was showed as this like big beer belly guy that was kind of bloated and just raw. Right. And turns out that representation may no longer be accurate, or the GNOME team may be trying to change that. Daniel Van Vaught has shared a status recently about trying to tune and improve the performance of GNOME. The largest gains of performance are the Ubuntu dock performance, which will fix when GNOME runs, you start to bog down the CPU usage. You also end up eating a bunch of memory, and that's kind of the way that GNOME was set up or designed, is that it runs all on a single thread. And so the problem is the more things that you run inside of the GNOME desktop environment, the heavier and the more tasked that single thread process becomes. And eventually what happens is it just completely entirely crashes. Now, before Wayland, inside of, well, you're still running on an X system. When it crashes, you don't really notice. You kind of see the screen pop. It kind of goes away and comes back. Then you just pick up and carry on where you left off. And you're like, that was weird. On Wayland, it's much worse. When GNOME hits that limit on under Wayland, what happens is the entire display server crashes, and you lose all your work. Mm-hmm. And I was in the middle of preparing for an episode of Ask Noah, and this happened to me. Wiped out my whole Sublime Text document. And if anybody that uses Sublime Text knows, for the most part, Sublime Text is kind of bulletproof. Mm-hmm. You don't have to save anything. You can just close it randomly. I've had the battery die in my laptop before. Doesn't really affect anything. It's the text is still there. Not when GNOME 3 crashes. When GNOME 3 crashes running on Wayland, believe me, it's a good time. So you wipe all of that out. And so it's good to see that there are people that are working with this. They are trying to improve the CPU regression caused by GNOME shell leaks, and they're working on some of these tweaks and improvements to kind of get away from that bloat. So hopefully we will see some major improvements come. And I think we're in a really good position, right? Because you have the two largest companies that are working on desktop Linux, and that is Canonical and Red Hat. And now both of them are centered around the exact same desktop environment, which means all of that collective brain power is going into one place. And my wife actually put it pretty eloquently. I asked her, I said, I've kind of switched over to KDE, and that's kind of where I'm running. And she goes, I'm not following you. I'm going to stick on GNOME. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the Linux geek in the family. I get to decide what desktop environment we're using, okay? She's like, no, listen, here's the thing. Canonical, I trust them to the point that when by the time we get to Wayland, where we're going to ship Wayland by default, we're going to have this solved. And if that means we have to rewrite GNOME 3 from the ground up, so be it. If we have to retool everything to make it work, I'm sure Canonical and Red Hat can handle that. Red Hat has over 800 people on staff working on the desktop environment. And I'm sure, I don't know exactly what Canonical has, but I'm sure they've got, a lot. Enough. Well, enough, yeah. Certainly nowhere near the 800, but they've got a lot of people working, and so you've got a bunch of people working on that desktop environment. So the chances that GNOME isn't going to succeed or come through or be able to fix some of the potential shortcomings that we have today, I'd say it's fairly unlikely. I think we're going to get there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now they had some memory leak issues in the past, as I recall. I remember the news hitting the headlines months ago, I think, but and they got those patched and fixed. This one seems to be ones that they're going after proactive here as well, with regards to fixing some of the memory leaks they're seeing in the Ubuntu dock and other things. And I didn't know all about the amount of members in Red Hat and things that are working on the desktop. So, I mean, that is a good reason there to believe that they're going to get a lot of this stuff fixed. and get a lot of these issues resolved. It's interesting that that keeps coming around, though. Is it that we don't hear it in other desktop environments because they're not as popular in GNOME, or why is GNOME only the one that we hear about having all these memory leaks?
You know, I have asked a question numerous times of every developer that I've come across, and I've said, what were you guys thinking, cramming this all into a single processing thread? I mean, seriously, like not to be offensive or disrespectful or anything. Like, I appreciate what you're doing, but I mean, seriously, wasn't that a little short-sighted? And I'm not exact. I've never really gotten a solid answer as to what the rationale behind that was, because you would think that it would be pretty obvious that wasn't a good idea, essentially. And, you know, we were at a weird time. Unity kind of rebooted from the ground up. Plasma kind of rebooted from the ground up. Or KDE rebooted from the ground up. GNOME kind of rebooted from the ground up. And so we went like basically all at the same time simultaneously. By the way, one of the worst market times in the world for this to happen. All of the Linux desktop environments went to crap because they were all going to start over and nothing worked. And then we were there for a couple of years, and now we've kind of slowly reapproached the point where they're all really, really great. Unity, right. Even the continuation from what Canonical done, fantastic. KDE and Plasma, fantastic. GNOME, you know, absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, you have all of the, you know, the windowless managers. But I've never gotten a good answer to that, Ryan, and it's somewhat frustrating. That's where we're at. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very interesting. You know, GNOME, I forced myself to use it for a while because when I got into Linux, I got addicted to XFCE really quickly. That was my desktop of choice. But I went into GNOME mostly because of Rocco. He was pushing it and saying he loved it. And I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. And it wasn't as bad as I had realized. And I actually enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. What I did see interesting kind of looking in retrospect was the amount of people that when I came into Linux for the first time, Unity was just about to leave us, but everybody hated Unity. It was like a universal thing. Oh, we hate Unity.
All the loud people hated Unity.
No, that's what I mean. That's right. The voices. People, not, but then Unity goes away and everybody's like, I want Unity back, which is funny, but now they hate GNOME, the loud people again, not everybody. They hate GNOME. So there's this thing that happens where if something gets too popular, we tend to latch on it and beat up on it, and not that some of it's not warranted, but it seems like maybe it goes overboard.
The thread thing is a fair point.
Yeah,
to a certain degree, I feel like as Linux users, we're predisposed to root for the underdog, right? Because our operating system is in fact the underdog. So when you have a desktop environment that kind of takes off and goes, you know, bonkers, then we tend to kind of retaliate against that. But you know, one other thing I want to add that you kind of brought up, but you're talking about the dock specifically. Canonical has done fantastic work on the dock in GNOME. If you used dash-to-dock in GNOME prior to when it became the default desktop in Canonical, then you know what I'm talking about. It was frankly a buggy piece of crap software, and Canonical took it from kind of this hack-on add-on to a core functionality of a desktop environment, and they did a fantastic job and put all of the polish that you came to expect on Unity on that dock in GNOME, and now it's basically an entirely separate product, and it works fantastic.
Yeah,
and they actually contribute code from that dock back to the dash dock, making that even better too. So like, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I think that GNOME will be good with Ubuntu's implementation. You know, especially when it comes around with like 2004. I think it will be a solid offering there. I don't think that GNOME itself is going to go to that route. I think they're more focused on like their specific ideology and their ideals of what they want. That even if there's certain things that would be more beneficial for them to do, if it's like more, you know, if it doesn't fit with their goals, it just won't happen. And I think that's one of the things that people don't like about GNOME. I think that there's a lot of people who are negative to GNOME because GNOME just seems to not really have any interest in what the community's opinion of their stuff is.
Oh, absolutely.
So like
you talk to. Like, I don't want to get too inside baseball, but suffice to say, numerous attempts have been made by numerous different organizations. Like, and I'm not talking like Bob's software development in Toluca, Kansas. Or Toluca, wherever Toluca is. I don't know.
But, I love Bob's hardware.
It's the best, right? They make the best code. But I'm talking about major software vendors have approached the GNOME team and said, "Hey, here's a massive problem. We just spent we'll take all of our developers and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to fix this problem. And Gnome went, meh, not really interested.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It's
the
frustrating.
default desktop environment, I think this would be an interesting question if you are brave enough to answer it.
Should be Plasma.
What?
I agree.
Plasma.
I agree. It should be Plasma too.
It should be Plasma, but it should be modified Plasma. It should be not the default Plasma. There's problems there. It should be like take Plasma, polish up the issues of the defaults, and then you'd have a great modern default desktop. Especially like when I made the video when they announced that they were going to switch to GNOME, getting rid of Unity. I was one of the first people who just said, don't get rid of Unity. It's actually quite good. Here's an opportunity. Here's a method that you could get rid of. You could technically get rid of Unity, but still keep it, because you could turn Plasma into a Unity structure
Like experience, right?
Yeah, very quickly. Like 90% of Plasma can already do what they did in Unity. They even had the HUD system already available in Plasma prior to the HUD existing in Unity. So like you could do a lot of things in Plasma that Unity had. So they could have just transitioned there and still had a Unity experience and a Unity approach and everything. So like what the idea was, if Ubuntu were to take Plasma and then polish it up, they could make an amazing desktop environment. I think Plasma itself is a fantastic, amazing fundamental core structure, but the default offerings need a little work. And I think Ubuntu putting those together would have been amazing. That could have been fantastic.
I agree. Yep.
So, talking about amazing, there is
Nice.
Look at them light up.
Nice.
another distro that we need to talk about this week. And I do want to say right out the bat, I am a very proud member of Team Peppermint. So this is not going to be a biased review in any way, shape or form. It's purely reporting the facts. So Team Peppermint are pleased to announce that the Peppermint 9 respin, Michael, has been released. The latest iteration of our operating system, still based on the 1804 LTS long-term support code base. Peppermint 9 respin still comes both 64-bit and 32-bit flavors, so that the older hardware is still supported. Now, there is a huge long list of about 16 changes, so we're not going to go into them all. But there's one in particular that I find really strange that seems to be causing people a lot of concern. Now, that is that we no longer ship with VLC. We've gone over to one of the Mint X applications called XPlayer. Now, before we get into a big, long discussion about why it is or isn't the greatest, if you want VLC, sudo apt install VLC. Next.
It's too hard.
What is the big fuss about? I just don't get it when people do a review of a distribution and they're all over the default applications. If you don't like them, change them.
May I play devil's advocate for it for a second?
Yeah.
So if we think about what a distribution is a collection of base operating system, a desktop environment, and default applications. So I would say that any review of any given distro is going to be a review of what desktop did they choose, what base did they choose, and what default applications they chose, right? So like the difference between KDE Neon and the a regular Kubuntu, essentially, other than a slightly different version of KDE, essentially comes down to the fact that with KDE Neon, you don't get any default applications. You get whatever comes with the KDE desktop.
And you get vanilla Plasma, which, like I said earlier, you don't want.
Yeah. Well, to a certain degree, that's also what Peppermint do, because I think VLC is probably one of the only actual applications that comes installed. Everything else is based upon the ICE application. And really that's simply because who are we to say what application you are going to use with your distro? So we give you just enough to get going, and then the decision is yours as to what you're going to do, what office suite you're going to use, what browser you're going to use, etc., etc.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I was happy to see it. VLC and me have a falling out right now. I used to love VLC. But recently, listen, I have a computer that most kids would probably take a picture of and hang up as a poster on their wall and dream about having power-wise. And when I have a video stuttering to play in VLC, but I can open SM Player, everything else, and it runs smooth as silk, there's something wrong there. And I know not everybody has the same experience because they have different hardware, but I've just not had a great experience with VLC as of late.
I think VLC isn't actually a problem because I think it being by default being removed is actually kind of good in a devil's advocate method of saying that VLC, while being the most known media player and video player pretty much ever, especially for like Windows users and even Android users, it's one of the best for Android. It's not that good for Linux, and I don't know why, but it's not. But when someone like people use VLC for the default because it's known, and the users would go, "Oh, okay, VLC, I know that one," and that's in a way that's good. But when they use it on Linux and it doesn't actually perform at what they expect it to be, and it's weird and like buggy, and sometimes does artifacts and stuff like that, that could be a negative. Saying, "Oh, look at this Linux thing; it can't even run VLC right." But
in defense of my beloved traffic cone, oftentimes what I found is you can fix almost all of the problems with VLC just by making a couple little configuration changes, going in and changing the video rendering engine and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse that excuses the fact that VLC just doesn't work out of the box. It should, absolutely. But I use VLC exclusively, and I know what you're talking about, the little green artifacts or whatever, where the entire video turns weird or whatever. And I've been able to fix all of those just by changing some software settings.
I fixed it too. I fixed it too. I use MPV, and I don't have to do
that. Touche. Yeah. So there's just 3 other items that I'd like to mention out of the list of things that came in, because we decided a few shows back to be a bit of an advocate for accessibility settings, making sure that when we do our reviews, we have a look, and are we catering for those people who have, sort of some sort of difficulty using your basic computer. So Peppermint have made that a bit easier by adding the accessibility settings utility to the Peppermint settings panel. And one of the things when I looked through it was quite interesting, because I hadn't thought about it before, because we're all just here doing our stuff. But some people will sometimes have difficulty moving and pinpointing the accuracy of the mouse. So there's a little setting. You click on it, and then if you've got a number keypad on your keyboard, you can then use those 9 points to start moving the mouse cursor.
That's pretty cool.
The screen. And I found that quite interesting. That's obviously a standard facility that comes with these accessibility settings, but until you actually dive in and you look at these things and you say, well, why have they got that? But you begin to realize that we do take advantage of our good health. I thought it was just nice to see that we're making that more obvious for these people.
Yeah, that, and it reminds me of the email we got where we have individuals who listen to the show and are looking when we do these reviews to talk about the accessibility stuff. So appreciate you pointing that out.
Yep. And then another one which I thought was good, because we always hear about questions about how can I get my Wi-Fi drivers working? What's the matter with this? And I forget the name of the company now that causes people the most grief. But we've added a lot of those wireless drivers. Broadcom, that's the guy. So we've added a lot of those drivers now out of the box. Now, I don't know which Broadcom versions are covered, but there's an awful lot of them. And then the security conscious will be happy to see that we've added support for mounting Lux encrypted volumes. So that's quite good. But generically, it's just all up to date. It includes the latest versions of Mint install, the kernel, and Firefox, which is still our default browser. So all in all, not a massive change, but nice little tweaks if you read through that list that just makes your Linux life that little bit easier.
So do you like it, Zeb, or you hate it?
No, I think it's probably my number one choice. Now, before we do move on, there's something I wanted to address that might be somewhat confusing to people, and that's the fact that it has quite a long version number. I think it's like Peppermint OS 9-20181222. Now, there was a YouTuber that seemed to find this quite amusing when he was reading it out. He just thought it was a really weird, obscure number. So I thought I'd explain to you as quick as possible what that number relates to. It's the date. 2018-12-22. So I'll let you decide how much of a face palm you want to give yourself. But for me, that just warrants a hearty dolt.
I mean, I fell into this trap. Not that I ever gave it any thought. I never gave it any thought about it being long or not, but I didn't realize that's how they did their naming convention. It almost reads like an old Star Trek captain's log. Captain's log, 2018 12.22. Aliens seem to be invading. That's kind of what it is. It's long. I mean, you got to admit it's long. It's longer than most people version numbers.
It is long, but moving swiftly on.
Exactly. But it's,
Michael, save us.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of having Firefox as default, that's a great option, especially when you have Firefox 64 been released, and it's available now on pretty much every major distro, more than likely all of them. And there is a ton of really cool features that are being done in for this one. Like, it's not as big as like the Quantum release, but each new version of Firefox is still adding a lot of nice things that I enjoy. Like the ability to easily like they enhance the tab management structure, where you can have you can select tabs, like doing a control and then click on a tab and it will select an individual tab. And it used to be really annoying that I wanted to, like, for example, move a tab off into another window. You'd have to do one by one and then move it to the next window, move it to the next window. Now you can just click each one, like highlight each one you want to move and then move them all at the same time. You can do the same thing with bookmarking. So if you have if you use the bookmark sidebar, you can select them and then move them all into the folder that you want to do. And it seems like it's not that big of a deal, but if you do it, if you're ridiculous like I am and you have like 1,500 bookmarks, it turns out to be quite useful to be able to do that. Even if it is like a little tiny improvement, I think it's fantastic. So what do y'all guys think?
Yeah, well, it makes it that much more usable. And sometimes it's just, we don't want these massive, fantastic new features. Just think about what we've got. How do you use it? And what little tweaks can be put in to make it that little bit easier for you? And that's just a brilliant example of, let's not put a fantastic new feature in. Let's just tidy up and work on what we've got and make it more user-friendly. So, I think that's a really good. And I don't have that many bookmarks, but yeah, it's very, very handy to be able to do that.
Actually,
I mean, Firefox is just killing it recently. It almost reminds Firefox and AMD are kind of on the same path, where for a while they were both struggling pretty heavily, and recently they're just dominating. And Firefox reminds me, the difference between Firefox and Chrome nowadays is it's these companies, when companies get too big, they lose their roots, and it seems like they don't use their own products. The people working on Firefox, you can tell, do this. They're fixing the things, the little tweaks and enhancements and things that of somebody who utilizes this every single day. And
they get their own dog food for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus,
Absolutely.
I think something like Chrome, where it's like, you got so many levels of management dictating what to work on and when to work on it, that you lose that user, they lose the roots.
Yeah. The container tabs thing
is.
I agree that the container tab system was just because of like 4 or 5 people had the idea and wanted to build it, and then after they built it, they allowed users to just play with it and see if they liked it, and then everybody loved it. So then it became a part of like the main add-ons that Mozilla creates. So like if they see a problem that they want to address, or they see something they wanted to add as a feature, they are like they're passionate about it to the point where they want to go out and create something to allow everybody to enjoy and benefit from. And that's one of the things, like the container tab system makes, I think that one add-on makes Firefox a better browser.
It's one of the single greatest features added to a browser, period. Out there. There's nothing else like it. And it was an ingenious move. I just released a video about security on my channel for the everyday users out there. And of course, one of the things that I talk about is containers, because not only is it useful, but what I was trying to do is create a video that anybody at any tech level could figure out how to start thinking about privacy and security. And it was so easy to demonstrate how to use it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not overly complex. It's not confusing. You don't have to be a coder. It's a couple clicks and you're done. It's so brilliantly implemented.
They also made it with a plugin system too. So you can modify the existing add-on to add extra features. So if you are a power user, you can even make it more enhanced. So like, for example, you can create specific shortcuts to open a tab in a particular container. But that takes another add-on to do that. and the like once you do it, it changes the workflow of the container tab system even better. So like overall, container tab system is fantastic, and then especially with like the Facebook container and all those things like the security structures that Mozilla is working on, like those are fantastic, and I think it's a great. It's definitely one of those pieces that should be included in a video like that.
So I just have to ask. Oh, go ahead. No, sorry.
No, I was just going to say their timing is absolutely fantastic because right now the world is kind of shifting the Chrome direction, right? You've got Microsoft jumping in on that. So if ever there was a time where we needed a standout, amazing browser that was going to do a really good job and was true to their roots, like Mozilla, today is that day.
Yep. Well said.
And I'm really glad you put that video out, Ryan, because I'm going to be going through that like with a fine tooth comb. So if this dumb Linux user can understand it, then yeah, it's going to be great to be able to just add those little bits of tweaks to make your life online that little bit safer.
Absolutely.
I thought you meant you were going to audit his video.
That would be funny too. It'd be like he made a mistake at 2 minutes 33 seconds.
He should make a series. Zeb reacts to Ryan.
A lot. Yeah. But it's a shame that our friends over at Chromium didn't do this, because there is an SQLite bug that impacts all Chromium-based browsers. And what was interesting that when I was reading through this article is that although Firefox has this same vulnerability, you've actually physically got to be sitting at the machine to be able to, use this bug. Whereas with Chromium, everything is up for grabs. So the Tencent Blade security team allegedly says that it allows an attacker to run malicious code on the victim's computer. Now, again, like all of these things, this is another one of those, well, has it ever happened to anybody? But I think that isn't the point anymore. And I'm slowly coming around to your guys' ways of thinking. Just because it's there makes it vulnerable. Whether or not someone's going to use it is neither here nor there. And if we look back over the past, all of the sort of bugs that have been there with the potential for them being used, I think you're right, Ryan. It's pretty obvious, and we may be making a wrong blanket statement here, but it's pretty obvious that some of the developers over there maybe don't use their own product, because why are they not spotting this sort of stuff? Now, I'm not a security expert, so I'll leave it to one of you guys to go into the real details, but it just seems shocking that month after month, quarter after quarter, all of these new things are being found in Google's code.
Yeah, I mean, Google does this stuff. Like, this is a thing that happens often with their browser because of the whole the hierarchy structure they have. But this particular bug is not necessarily their issue. This is a SQLite issue where the database project SQLite, they provide, like, basically the way that all databases other than SQLite work is that you have a database software, you put it on a web server, and then you take software and connect it to that database. Whereas SQLite is like a self-contained single file database where everything is can be attached to a thing where you don't need to have a database structure or a web server built in. So it's a good idea, and it allows a lot of applications to exist. One of the things would be Chrome. Firefox does use it, but they don't implement the API in a way that makes the bug as bad as it can be.
Because it can't be executed remotely, basically.
Right. And the SQLite bug actually impacts like a ton of, like, all of Chrome for sure, and everything based on Chrome, but also like thousands of other applications. Like it's heavily used, and people argue that it's used too much because it's becoming a crutch. And with something like this happening, it creates like another point for those people who are detractors to it. But I think it's interesting because this is another example of big corporations using a project that's open source and provides a lot of service or a lot of benefits to them without ever auditing the code or contributing back to the code to actually see if they can contribute and help based on what they depend on. And that's a very common thing when it comes to big corporations using open source. They like the idea of open source, but they don't want to really contribute to it.
Well, but it was good to see that it's already been fixed.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, allegedly Chromium has patched this, and SQLite has released a patch. Of course, there was some articles that I was reading talking about getting all of these people to change their code and the apps that already exist on the app stores, which can be a pain in the butt to pull your app down and update it and all of those things, to get them to realize that they need to patch this is going to be an issue. So while there are patches available, meaning there's a fix available, that doesn't mean the software you're using, utilizing is patched with it. So that creates kind of an interesting issue. Now, I do want to point out that the folks at SQLite are saying that, Tencent Blade security team is basically kind of spinning or exaggerating how big of an issue this is. They're saying it's not as big or not as much of a vulnerability as they were making it out to be. Obviously, unless you're somebody going in there and probably working on it, who knows how big it can be. But let's put it this way. It was big enough that they both released a patch. So there's something there that certainly creates a vulnerability. And it's interesting the impact it has on Chromium-based browsers. And that's not to say that something like this can't come along and impact Firefox or something down the road as well. But you're right, Zeb, and I think part of this has to be with the market share being so unfairly balanced here. But Chrome seems to come up constantly in the news lately. So on top of all of that, let's look at some good news here. Like VirtualBox 6.0 is released. Now, VirtualBox is a very powerful tool that can be utilized for many different applications. Most people, like myself, probably got used to using VirtualBox to, boot up an ISO and give a different distro kind of a quick look about in case you wanted to distro hop to it or just check out some of the new features it has. But of course, you can do many other things with it than just that. This is a major update for them that they have released. They've implemented support for exporting a virtual machine to Oracle Cloud infrastructure. They've done lots of user interface improvements, including their high DPI and scaling output, which I understand was definitely something that was really needed. Better detection and per machine configuration, major rework of the user interfacing, kind of across the board, so making things much easier. They added in support for Hyper-V as the fallback execution core for Windows hosts, plus lots and lots of bug fixes here. Now, Michael, when we were doing an episode before, I think we were talking about a distro, and I said, yeah, I booted up a VirtualBox, I put up the distro, and I got some comments of individuals saying, why do you use VirtualBox? You can create a virtual machine right through Linux or other tools that are better for it. So do you use VirtualBox? Is that your thing?
I do use VirtualBox in certain ways. There's very good benefits to a variety, all the different options. I think Boxes is good from the GNOME team because it's really simple to set up.
I like Boxes, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not very featureful. It's just an easy to get started kind of thing. But once you get you get started at all, it's you'll hit barriers really quickly. Whereas things like QEMU, which is or KVM even, well, they're fantastic, and you have to. I know they have like great performance and they're super fast and they're reliable, but they also require a lot of setup time. And you have to learn how like Virt Manager works or libvirtd and things like that. So it takes a lot more effort to get those set up than it is to use VirtualBox. So VirtualBox is the nice combination of being very featureful, being very powerful, but also being fairly easy to use. So that's why I say I usually typically suggest to people if they want to try out virtual machines that VirtualBox is the best option to get started with because it has a ton of great features that even some people don't even think about, like the ability to do host-only networking is one of the things I love about the fact that VirtualBox has it, because that comes in handy ridiculous where your host and your guest are connected to each other and they can share their network and files, but the guest doesn't have access to the internet. So it adds an extra layer of security on that sense, so you don't have to worry. Like if you're using a Windows guest, you don't have to worry about Windows being attacked inside of the virtual machine because it's only access to the host itself. And that's a cool feature that VirtualBox has. And I think that it's because it has something like that that is a power user setup. I think that it's a great example for getting started and then learning virtual machines, and then maybe going to something like libvirtd and Virt Manager.
You know, the other thing I'll add to that is what I found when I've tried to put people on either VMware or certainly not libvirtd, at least not for desktop use. But what I found is that VirtualBox tends to be easier for people to navigate, so they don't have to. They don't have to look when they like you were talking about sharing files or sharing USB devices is another one that people do all the time. They can find it themselves because those options. It's a pretty navigatable software. Whereas even VMware, like setting up a shared USB device or a shared folder, there is no one-click menu, and you just choose on the USB device and click share. It's a whole other complicated process to get it to go through. So I think VirtualBox really nails it for the beginning user. It's pretty easy. You download the deb and you set it up, or you install it right from your repo, and then you're able to just get going with virtualization. Whereas basically every other virtualization platform requires some form of setup and a little bit of tweaking.
I mean, I had to write a whole script. By the way, I looked it up in my script to see what the one recommended to me was, and it wasn't bad. It's called KVM. It was the KVM iteration there, but it's a whole script because it requires so many other packages that you have to install here. It just goes on and scrolls on my screen. And then you've got to add yourself to the libvirt groups and do system CTL restarts and all of these different things to get it up and running versus just installing VirtualBox and going. So I'm sure KVM's more powerful and there are probably more things you can do with it potentially. But I think for your average user, even you guys who are more advanced users, seems like VirtualBox is the easiest to get up and running.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna do like heavy deployment of like an enterprise or a company that wants to do like workstation virtualization. So, for example, if you have a server that has like this big, massive server that has all of the software of the employees on that server, and then do a basic dummy terminal where they just have a small little computer that maybe just a Raspberry Pi that could even do it, where they just remote into that server and they use it as if it's the real computer. In that sense, I would not use VirtualBox because that would be a lot of weight that wouldn't be beneficial. So you use something like KVM or just QEMU or something like that. That would be a lot better for that experience. But as far as like an individual use case for one VM or maybe even a couple VMs, I don't think that there's anything wrong with VirtualBox in that sense. Like, I think it was a great option for people to try out because it is easier and it works very well. There are some issues that people don't like about the proprietary USB support, but I think that's not a big deal because you install an extra package and you get access to it, and it's not really difficult to do. And when you go to download, it gives you that little link for that.
So I guess I would agree with that. I would say servers use something like libvirt, and for desktops use a VirtualBox. I will add, Ryan, I'm not sure what guide you were following. I'll have a link, and maybe I'll share it with you, and we can throw it in the show notes. I have a guide that I wrote out for utilizing libvirt. It's 4 commands. 4 commands, you should be able to do it. It should take you no more than 1 minute. From the time that you have a base operating system set up to the time that you have libvirt up, running, everything good to go. It should be like 4 or 5 commands. Should not take that long.
Oh, I would love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it should there. And I'm, maybe there is a bunch of other stuff that guide was doing, and my guide literally just gets you up and running. But I'll share that with you. And so if you have a server, you want to get into some more advanced virtualized environments, because the advantage of libvirt, one of the nice things you can do is you can run it on a server in your basement, and then you can connect to it from your laptop. So you can sit in your skippies on the couch and be eating Pringles and managing virtual environments. Whereas with VirtualBox, you have to have all of that computing power right there on the machine. Right. It's not really set up to do remote control.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, one more thing about that is that another thing about VirtualBox that might be good for people who are just getting started, you can actually find OVA files, which are appliances for VirtualBox, and you can have a VM that's already set up, like the distro's already been installed, all the configurations already set, and you just take it, install the OVA, and you're good to go. You don't even have to figure out how to set up ISOs and things. Like, you don't have to build your own VM to do that. Cool. So that's another option for like getting started anyway.
Very nice. So Noah, your favorite subject here, Raspberry Pis. What can we do with this one?
Well, every time we get to Christmas, obviously, the geeks among us, after we get done stuffing our faces, then we venture off into our various little labs to go do whatever it is that we're going to do. Right. And if you're looking for a project and maybe you don't have one, and you're like me and you have an extra stash of Raspberry Pis, turns out you can turn one of those into a Steam Link. Now, that is a project that was released beta earlier, but now it is official. You can actually use a Raspberry Pi. I believe is it a Pi 3B and a Pi 3B Plus?
Right. Just only those.
Now, if you don't know what a Steam Link is, essentially what it allows you to do is it allows you to stream a game from a more powerful computer down to a less powerful computer. Because if you think about it, a game, as far as the controls, all you really need to be able to do is send XY coordinates to the computer and receive a 1080p stream back from the computer. Low latency, of course. So you're going to want to have a wire connection to do that. But it turns out the processing power required to send a real-time 1080p stream and send XY coordinates from a controller actually fits inside of a Raspberry Pi. And so you're able to use a Raspberry Pi 3B to accomplish that, which is really cool because and the Steam Links weren't that expensive. They were like $50, I think, or $40.
They started out $50, and then they dropped. They started doing like fire sales and stuff, and then because they were what was really cool is people were worried that the Steam Link was going to die, and everybody's like, the Steam Link is such a cool device, even if it's not selling well, it's still a great device, and I actually have one of those things. But they started fire selling them, and now they're completely out because the last big sale they did was like $5 for a Steam Link. And then once they completely were out of inventory, they announced like the next week or two, we're doing a beta for Raspberry Pi. So if you didn't get a chance to get a Steam Link, if you already have a Raspberry Pi, you can still have a Steam Link. And then within a week of after the beta started, they were like, here's the official release. And it's like, okay, you have been working on this for a long time. So like this was their plan. And a lot of people were like worried that the Steam Link was going away. And now not only is it going away, it's actually more accessible to more people because of the fact that a lot of people already have a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. Right. Or you can just go buy one for less than the Steam Link.
It's cheaper than the Steam Link, yeah.
They do have them on Amazon for $59. One thing I would suggest if you're going to do this is go pick up the Steam controller because it's actually pretty cool. It's actually a really nice controller.
Yep, I absolutely love it. And this is so fun because especially if you have people coming over for holidays and things, you could, first of all, it's just cool to show off your geek skill, right? And have a Raspberry Pi that you're streaming to. But secondly, you could have the gaming set up in your living room. So if you have kids and things, cousins, whatever, coming over to your home, you could set up a game in there and let them play right from that Raspberry Pi. They don't have to be, down where your expensive computer is. They could just be sitting there in front of the TV playing with it. That's a good point.
It keeps that barrier from friends and family. Like don't mess up my stuff.
I keep my office link locked, and you can go play the game upstairs. Speaking of which, AMD has been we talked about earlier, dominating in the news lately with just fantastic offerings. And they got me again here because you all know I'm going to get the new Vega GPU when it launches early next year. But they have dropped 2 more processors out here that I want to get my hands on. I don't need them, but I want them. They basically have created 2 sub $75 processors that have the Vega 3 GPU built into them. So you get your processor and your GPU in one for this sub $75. And it's a continuation of their Athlon line that they have here. It's the 220 GE, which is a dual core, which is quad thread, 3.4 gigahertz Vega 3 GPU for $65. Or you could get the 240 GE, which gives you 3.5 gigahertz and Vega 3 GPU for $75 there. I went to try to buy one as soon as this news dropped. It's not available yet on Newegg. They still have the older version of this lineup, which I think is the 210 or 200G out there.
It's not even that one's not even that bad either because it's still like a 3.2, I think.
And I think it's like $55 or some ridiculous price out there. And believe it or not, this is powerful enough to actually do some light gaming on. So it's not meant for gaming. It's a very low power consumption card. But because of the GPU power of this little device, along with the CPU, you could play probably CSGO and some other lighter games out there and have a pretty good experience. You're not going to be playing on max settings. Keep in mind, this is a value CPU. But very, very amazing little tool that you could use for media servers, having a spare machine set up on the cheap so you don't have to distro hop on your main machine anymore. All kinds of applications you could do, and you get into it for nothing.
Yeah, there was some benchmarks that said that it could even do decent quality at 720p. Like decent frames. Like it wouldn't be great, but decent. Like the fact that you can even do that on such a cheap processor, or actually a GPU processor combo thing, even the fact that you could even do that at all is amazing in comparison to like 5 years ago. That was just unheard of and apparently impossible that people thought that at the time.
Well, I guarantee you when this drops, I'll have a video on it on my channel because I can't wait to play with it and see what it can run. So you can't beat that for the price.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so moving on to some other articles that we've been finding out here. And the next topic is to do with photography on Linux. And there was a great article regarding the possibilities of being a professional photographer on the Linux platform. And as you already know, we had an interview with Wendy Hill of Wendy Hill Photography on episode 89 of the show. And so we know it is definitely possible already. But this particular photographer, Carlos Enchenique, is a Miami, Florida photographer specializing in fine art and travel photography. And what was interesting about it was he does all of his work on an almost entirely FOSS software base. And there's a nice big long list of some of the stuff that he uses. So first of all, obviously, Michael will love the fact that he uses the KDE Neon desktop. And then he goes along to list a whole raft of applications that you can use, including Raw Therapy, Digicam, Darktable, Lens Fun, Display Cal, QImage One, Rapid Photo Downloader, GIMP, and he also mentions Krita, Light Zone, and Polar. Now, I've recently got in to photography, probably predominantly because of Wendy Hill. So I've got myself a little camera, but I'm still in the experimental mode at the moment. So I've not actually put my images on my computer per se to start playing around. But it's really good to know that I'll be able to do most of these things with these applications. So is anybody using these to do their photographic work at the moment?
I use a lot of these applications for photography, more of like Krita is great for drawing and painting, digital art, so things like that. And so like this, like you can take these applications that are meant for like manipulation and put them into like the photography thing and make it even better. But like Digicam is great for managing your photos. I actually didn't. I've heard about it before. I never really tried it until we talked to Wendy, and she was mentioning the Rapid Photo Downloader, and that application is so ridiculously useful that like when you take your like even on your phone when you have your photos and it's like the like DSC or image 100 whatever like ridiculous number following. When you put that on your computer, you have to go in and manually change it. But if you have like, you can just like only pull in certain photos using Rapid Photo Downloader, and then say, now rename every single one of these photos based on this particular like variable, this date structure, and etc. And you can just control it exactly, and it will import and automatically rename every photo you bring in. And that is like such a ridiculously useful tool. So like, there's a lot of stuff in here that's really good.
I've used Darktable quite a bit. The thing about Darktable is, you know, when you start getting into photography, one of the first things you learn is that you should not shoot in a compressed format. You should shoot in uncompressed, or what they call raw. And the idea behind that is it records the actual sensor data, not the processed image. So what you can do is you can then go generate a processed image from that sensor data in post. And so let's say your white balance was off. Let's say the picture was really orange. You can go find something in the picture that's white that you can tell the sensor data, hey, basically interpret colors based off of what we know is a known quantity of white, and then generate a picture. And you can do that. Darktable allows you to do that. So the nice thing is, let's say you've taken, and this actually happened to me at a wedding. We had shot like, I don't know, maybe 200-300 photos. And what Darktable will allow you to do is go and take a single photo and say, I was in this room and I shot and the white balance was off. So here's the correction, and here's all of the changes I want to make. Now I can save that as a template and go apply that to all other 200 photos that I have imported. And so it's a time-saving feature, but it's also one of those things that once you start to kind of get in there, you kind of know, okay, I captured my images this way. Here are all the things I want to tweak just a little bit. Now I can go apply that general kind of photo tweaking to all of the photos I took in that session. And, and so I've just found Darktable to be, and I've used it in comparison with Lightroom.
Yeah.
So, and I have yet to find anything that I could do in Lightroom that I couldn't do and now that I can't do in Darktable. And I know that's not true of all the Adobe products. It's certainly true in this one.
Yeah. So go on, Ryan.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what I find fascinating about that as well is I didn't know Darktable could do that. So that would be really, really good. And now I can understand why Wendy spends, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 hours calibrating her monitors, because there was a very interesting post, I think, in our Telegram group where somebody showed their dual monitor setup, and there was a fantastic picture of like a blue-eyed husky or something. And I think if they just put that post up and you saw it, you'd think, wow, that's some really nice monitors. Then he showed after he had calibrated the two monitors so that they were showing colors as they, and the photography was just like, wow, that is light and day. So yes, I think it would be very important if you're going to pick your one photograph to pre-process through Darktable, you're going to want to make sure that you're looking at the right colors so you get that balance done properly. So now I understand why they go through that calibration process when you've got tools as clever as Darktable doing what you just said it can do. It's astounding.
Well, not only that, I think it was interesting. It was Niles who posted those pictures in our Telegram group, but when he did the calibration, he used a Datacolor Spider 2 USB device that he had bought used for cheap. So you don't have to have the latest calibrator to stick on your monitor to do the color calibration, because you do need a separate tool that basically reads the light coming off the monitor and things. You could get a used one for pretty cheap and then use the Display Cal app to basically do the adjustments. So you could do all of this in Linux. And that's the story that I get out of this that I love so much is the professional application of people. And if you look at the individual who wrote this article's photography, it's incredible. It's just absolutely stunning, beautiful work. And he's doing it all in Linux. So we're starting to see more and more stories about these professionals, right, coming into Linux to do their work. And that, to me, is a huge gain for Linux to show how powerful the tools are.
And I don't know if it's just one of those sort of like natural phenomena that we've talked about it on our show, but aren't you guys seeing a lot more of this stuff coming through about photography now? I know I certainly am seeing YouTube videos on it, questions being posted.
Yeah.
None of it's helped my photography become better, but yeah, it's exploding everywhere.
Yeah, my phone isn't really helpful for most of these applications, but there's a lot of things that's really interesting. I watched a couple of photos or videos about photography using Linux, and there's a lot of things that I didn't have any idea that these applications could do, because I knew a lot about what Lightroom could do and things like that, because I used to use like Adobe products for like a decade. So when I shush. So there's a lot of cool things that Lightroom could do, and then when I was looking at these videos about Darktable, everything that I liked about Lightroom was available in Darktable. And while I'm not a professional photographer, the amount of things that can be done in Darktable, and the fact that it's a modular based system, so you can people can make additional features and you can just install them into the system. Like, that is really cool. And I think Darktable is definitely something that any photographer who's interested in Linux should definitely look at.
Yeah. Very cool.
So another thing that has been a little popular recently is the discussion on header bars or client-side decorations.
Is this single-click or double-click argument all over again?
No. That one is like, there is an actual good answer, and it's double. But there's, by default anyway, there's definitely some discussions on this one that is like, it's kind of like those type of arguments where there is no right answer. And like, you could say that the header bars are nice because they do save a little bit of pixel space, so the screen real estate is improved, things like that. That's cool. But also it has some issues of like hiding all the menus and items inside of like a single button.
Well, let's step back
menu.
here. Could you explain what we're talking about? What is a header bar, title bar, and all that?
So header bars are a combination of other things from Windows. Like, so it's a new concept of taking a Windows, by a traditional window has a title bar, then it has a menu bar, and then beneath that it has the toolbar. And the concept of a header bar is to take all of those and combine them into one UI structure. Now, there are various different things that do it. Mac has a structure that does it, but not all applications, even on Mac, do it. And it's on Linux, it's kind of like hit or miss. Like, there are some applications that use header bars really well, and it looks great, and it works great. And there's and they have access to all the things that you need. But there's also a lot of applications that use header bars that are hiding everything inside of the hamburger menu, which is the menu with the 3 lines, if you're not aware what that term means.
Now I'm hungry.
Right? That's my bad. But I think that this is a great article because he goes into he goes into the history of the header bar and things like, and also the functionality of different things and why the header bars are not necessarily the best option. And here's why the structure of the traditional ways could be improved rather than replaced.
And that's a bit of an understatement because I think his article starts off, let me just tell you why you should never use header bars. And he gets really animated about why he shouldn't do it. But I think,
I didn't want to express it that way because that's actually how I feel. I just do not like header bars.
I felt like you ghost wrote this article. In fact, I remember you putting this article in the news.
I did put it in.
Cover this.
We need to cover, yes.
Because it's such a Michael way of arguing. Instead of just being like, hey, I prefer this method and maybe a couple bullet points wide. No, there are paragraphs of the history of header bars and the issues that it can cause. He formulated a very powerful argument against them being a fatally flawed system, as he put it.
Yeah, I think that they are definitely like they could have potential in the future if these things were modified. But the fact that they are currently being adopted while they're not really ready creates a big user problem. And while I was reading it, I was thinking, did I write this? But apparently I didn't. So
Mac uses the global menu kind of header bar.
It compensates because of the global menu. Like
GNOME uses it, right?
No, that's the problem. That's one of the problems. Okay. The problem with header bars is that it removes a lot of features away from the toolbars and away from the menu, so it's not there anymore. It's hidden behind a hamburger menu. But in the Mac,
it also makes it inconsistent.
Yeah, it's inconsistent because you don't know what side of the window the buttons are supposed to be, or where what these functions are, because they have specific icons that sometimes don't even make sense to what they're supposed to be used for, and things like that. But the way that Mac compensated was to move, instead of having the menu bar inside of the window itself, they moved it to the global menu. So you still have all of those tools that you wanted. It just looks prettier now. So they compensated by making every application require the global menu in some way. So you still have all those benefits of the menu bar, but you don't have it directly on the actual application.
Okay, so when you said GNOME doesn't use it, you mean specifically GNOME doesn't use the global menu.
Right.
They do use header bar.
Correct. They don't have a compensation for it.
Yeah, okay.
So they create
hamburger menus.
Right. So by using the header bars without having the global menu, you don't have a compensation for that problem. So it creates a user experience that is quite confusing for a lot of people, depending on what type of application they're using. So I think that's why it's a big deal.
And I think Noah hit it on the head there as well with continuity, because for me, if you're going to sort of access a hidden menu, you right mouse click something, and then you come up with a little pop-up and all the rest of it. No, on this particular application or desktop environment I was using, and I can't remember what it is, you had to go to the top left-hand corner where there was an icon, and you had to single click it before you could find a whole raft of stuff with preferences.
And that's if it's designed right, because remember, there was a time in Unity's history where, actually, I think it still is this way in Unity, where the global menu isn't even visible until you put your mouse up there. And my head doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
Right? My mind will not tell my hand to send the mouse cursor up to this blank bar unless I see what it is I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And so it's a very confusing way to handle things. I'm with Michael. You should never use it.
Yeah, I don't like the header bars at all. But the Unity eventually fixed it by making the global all the time. But the way that Mac has it is it's always there, and that's why it works for them. But there is one thing that I did want to point out of the local integrated menus that Unity did that nothing else has. By the way, it's unfortunate, but Unity has. They used to have, with 1604, you could definitely try it, where you could convert it so that instead of the global menu being at the top of the thing, it would still be there technically, but not normally. So instead of the title bar being there and then the menu bar, they combined the menu bar with the title bar. So you hover over the title bar, and then all of a sudden, all of the menu options display there. While that is the same issue of it being hidden, you would often move your mouse up there to move around the window anyway, so you'd see it pretty quickly. And if you maximize the window, it would remove the title bar, and move that to the global menu and then automatically show it when it's maximized. So it was like they compensated for it in a very good way that I think that if people were to like, I think that a lot of Ds should consider that approach, because the local integrated system allows you to have everything available while also not taking up that much space for it. But I would say that the traditional menu structure is probably even better, because you can remove all
that's
of
what
stuff.
I'm saying. Why are we reinventing the wheel here? Like, I've never had an issue if you keep the traditional menu there, it works. So are we really just catering to a bunch of designers out there, aka Michael,
No.
that want to make things look pretty?
No, because a lot of designers don't like it, because it removes.
Tools.
As designers, we like the tools being accessible. So, for example, like any kind of photo manipulation, you want all of those as quick as possible. And the header bars that's one of the things that makes me hate header bars, is because they get in the way and they make it more difficult to do simple things. So I have to click this button instead of like, if you know the file menu in like the regular menu bar, you hit Alt F and then there you go, you're on that menu. Or Alt E to go to the edit menu, and you can just use your cursor. You don't even use your mouse. But now with the header bars, you have to click the hamburger.
Well, if you look at a browser, it's the same thing. Like, who doesn't use the bookmarks toolbar? I'm purely curious, because
I don't use the bookmarks toolbar because I use the sidebar.
Other ways you have to do 3 or 4 different shortcuts.
Because I use the sidebar.
To your favorites.
I use the sidebar heavily. I used to use the bookmark toolbar all the time, but I use the sidebar now because you can do it with the
sidebar.
Yeah, sidebar.
Where's the sidebar?
You have to activate
bookmark sidebar.
You have to activate the sidebar in various different commands. So Control B would activate the sidebar for bookmarks.
So hold on a second. You browse your entire website, all of your websites. You browse with, like, I don't know, an eighth of the screen. Yeah, an eighth of the screen cut off because your bookmarks that.
No. I hit Control B to activate my bookmarks, and then I hit it again to go away.
Oh my gosh!
What are you talking about? This is the difference between someone having a few bookmarks and someone having over 1,000 bookmarks, and that's actually me going down from the previous 2,000 that I had.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
let's move on.
It's
how
just
much? By the way,
useful.
how much did it cost? Did Nate have to pay you to ghostwrite that article?
They split the profit 60-40.
Speaking of splitting profit, there's an interesting article that's come up regarding Discord, which we've utilized before to communicate to each other in games. We even have a Discord Destination Linux channel, although my preference is Mumble. It seems like people can't figure out Mumble, so nobody uses it. They prefer Discord for some reason, but whatever. Either way, Discord is out there,
for whatever reason.
And they are creating a store to sell games in. Now, the reason we never covered this up to this point is because who cares? They're not selling Linux games, and it really has no impact on us. But turns out that recently, when they were doing a discussion with the dev team on Reddit, that Discord said, good news, everything we built for the store actually works great on Mac OS and Linux, and a lot of our devs use these platforms internally. Of course they do.
Right.
We just wanted to focus on releasing Windows first. Bad move. And to be honest, that's where most of our users are. Whatever. We will definitely bring them things to all the I feel like I'm just replying to everything they say because it makes me angry as I'm reading.
It's also because it's ridiculous.
It makes me happy and angry at the same time.
I understand your point for it, and I also understand your frustration for it. But I also say we focused on releasing on Windows first to make sure everything works, because that's where most of our users are. When you only have one platform, that is where most of your users will be.
That's true. That's very true. So
hold on. Let me check your math. Carry the one. Yeah, you're right.
So it's an interesting move by Discord. They're obviously gunning for Steam here. Now, one of the things that they did to really try to get to the heart of the developers is they're trying to do a 90-10 split, meaning the developers get 90% of their profits from the store and Discord only gets 10%. Now, Valve takes a much more hearty 30% of the devs' profits for every game that they sell. But then again, look at the market size difference.
Yeah, Valve is like
80%. That you're dealing with there. So I'm always a fan of competition. I'm slightly biased here because of all of the work that Valve has done for Linux, not only creating a store for Linux and bringing gaming to Linux, but also what they've done with Proton and other things recently. It's going to take a lot for me to break my addiction to Valve and for everything that they've done for the Linux ecosystem, but I think competition ultimately is good. And if Discord goes out there and releases a good store with Linux support, which they should have done first, then maybe there will be some good deals on there where you could pick up some games in the community and people will benefit because you have competition. And Valve may be forced to react and change their split here, which would be good for developers. So ultimately, competition's always a good thing. So good for Discord. I don't hate their platform. I don't dislike it. I just have to think back at all Valve has done for Linux, and it'd be hard for me not to want to give them more money.
Yeah, you say you're slightly biased. I mean, I'm pretty much completely biased. I mean, the fact that before Steam was on Linux, the amount of games on Linux was maybe 20, maybe.
Right.
Now we're at like 6,000 or something. Like and it was all thanks to that Steam coming to Linux, and it's been only like I think 6 years now since we've had it, and it's exploded the amount of people who are wanting to use Linux, and the Steam Play thing they're doing to make people be able to play Windows games without how much fuss. Like that's awesome. They're doing so much to benefit. I mean, definitely it benefits themselves because they get a lot of more people playing their games on their platform.
Well, they have a more reliable ecosystem to rely on too, right? Like they don't have to worry about the rug. They don't have to worry as much about the rug getting ripped out from under them.
Right, exactly. They don't have to. They can like they said specifically they were going to Linux because that way they could be contributing to the community rather than just doing whatever or obeying whatever Microsoft wants them to do, and like that's fantastic. And one of the things I like Discord as far as using it. I think that this Discord store thing is annoying because they're saying, well, great news. Everything works so good on Linux and Mac. It's an Electron app. How is it not? That's what Electron is built for. It's built to be like, structured there. Like like I don't see the problem.
You have frozen Noah in a state of shock there, Michael.
That's how I roll.
It looks like he was about to smack you too. He had his hand up there. It's like
that's fine. I actually he lost connection, so I clicked it. When I saw you ask the question, has Noah frozen? I was like, edit point, just in case.
Yeah. So perfect for me. So I'll be back in a minute. Sorry.
All right, no problem.
All right, no problem. I want to leave Michael by himself.
Noah's back. Hey, welcome. You're muted still.
Things were going too well, and so you weren't going to have any work to do when it came to editing, so I thought I'd help out.
I appreciate that. I love editing so much.
Here to please.
Well done, Noah.
It was going pretty well. I was thinking, I don't have to edit much at all, and that happens.
We want to make sure you have something to do this week.
It's fine. I mean, if I didn't have this this plugin,
by the way, that plugin is genius. That ability for you just to hit a button and have an edit point is so awesome.
Right? And when I found it existed, I was like, please work on Linux, please work on Linux, please work on Linux. No, it doesn't. Crap. So then
what plugin is it?
It's called InfoWriter. And I contacted the dev and said, is there any reason why you think it wouldn't work on Linux? He's like, yeah, it should work. I don't know how to make it work, but it should work technically. So then I go and start trying it out, and then I figure out the hierarchy system he had set up wasn't accurate to Linux, so he didn't know how to fix it. So I fixed it, sent him a patch. He included it. Now it works. Anybody can use it if you want to. What it does is you set up a shortcut key binding in OBS through the InfoWriter plugin. You hit that button, and it will put a timestamp of the recording, the amount of time you've been in that recording, timestamp, and then whatever message you want to put in. So, for example, in DL, I put DL edit, and it just it has the timestamp and then the edit point. Like, this is where you need to edit. So I have a list of all the things I need to edit, like right in one text file.
Dude, but it doesn't work on Linux, huh?
No, it does now. Like, it originally wasn't. It originally wasn't, but then I had to. I helped him fix it and make it work because I wanted it so much. I was like, I'm gonna make this work.
Nice.
And, so I use it for Twinnle every single episode. So like, I converted my 4 hours of editing for This Week in Linux down to like maybe an hour, 45 minutes, because all the editing of every topic, cut this piece out, cut this piece out, cut this piece out, is all done automatically thanks to a script I wrote and knowing which timestamps of the video is thanks to this plugin.
Cool.
Awesome. So now I can just click a button when we start, and no big deal. Although we need to change the order.
I need to figure out how to do. I know there's a way to do this on Linux somehow. As maybe the Linux Brain Trust here can help me figure this out. There's got to be a way to add inside of audio files like the little bookmark thing so that you can like jump around.
Yep, there's a way. It's a metadata thing.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to do that.
I can show you how to do it, like the complicated way, and I can show you the stupidest, easiest way ever that I accidentally found. And that is to create a segment index, put it on your YouTube description, then use YouTube DL to download it, convert it to an MP3, add a tag. Christ. Now listen, you can script it. It's fine. That's what I did. So you put the tags in, you put the index in, which you're going to do anyway because you have to create the bookmarks that way. You have to do those manually. So you just put the index in, download it with a specific metadata tag, which YouTube has built in. And then after it's done, the bookmarks are automatically created, no matter what. And it will also you can also say it to automatically put the thumbnail in from the video. And Ryan's muted.
Ryan.
This is what Michael does with everything, Noah. It's like shoe on head stuff. Like if you ask him how to make cookies, most people would give you 4 or 5 ingredients. You can make a cookie. Not Michael. He'll have 100,000 steps into how he makes his cookie.
It's a complicated structure that makes it when you set it up, it takes seconds to do.
Nobody wants to go through all that. Nobody wants to do all that.
In order for me to do it, it takes me seconds. I just set up the index, and then when I'm done, I just say, I run the script, and then it does everything for me. That's why, because it's scriptable.
Right,
and that's why we use VirtualBox instead of KVM.
Well, Noah's going to send me something. I know Noah's not going to send me 1,000 steps and I'm going to try KVM again.
I'll send you 1,000 steps. Man. I'll know you will. I'm going to take whatever Noah sends you, then copy paste it to 1,000 times, and he's like, here you go.
Right, let's get our videos back in.
Yeah, we got to do the right order. So it's Ryan, then Zeb.
Yeah, me first. I love this. Oh, yeah, it was good.
Now Noah. And then me.
Destination Linux. All right.
Dextination Linux.
You even got people in the comments swatting you away on that one. Like,
no, there's a lot of people who said it was good, and a lot of people also hated it. But I don't care.
Fight
me.
Hey,
no more donations for you, son. I said no more puns.
What do you? No. I didn't do a pun in the show. This is just in the stream thing, so it doesn't count.
Matthias, Destination Linux. What can go wrong? ... Everything. All right. Where did we leave off on this?
I was talking.
All right.
So naturally, I was probably.
You could just pick in the artifact, probably.
Yeah, I'm gonna one more thing I want to talk about in Discord though. So there's one more thing I want to talk about before we move on for Discord, and that is the 90-10 split. It seems like it's a massive difference between the Valve setup of 70-30, and while yes, that is true, it's a big difference. It's not that much of a difference between the Epic Game Store that they're now competing with again. So like they announced their whole store revenue split because of the Epic Games Store revenue split, which was 88-12, and that might seem like in some cases that automatically Discord is better. But actually it's not, because a lot of the engines that these game engines are built on, they give you access to use the engine for free, but every time you make a sale, there's a percentage that goes to the engine. So for example, Unreal, which is made by Epic, it costs 5% of whatever your sell is to use the engine. So if you were to use the Discord store, then you'd actually be doing 15% to the platform, because 10 for the platform, 5 for the actual engine system. So it's a little bit more than it's closer than it appears to be at first. But
one of our patrons brought up something interesting. It would be easier for Steam to create a Discord client in Steam than it's going to be for Discord to create a store that people are going to be addicted to.
And now that's actually a good point, because they already started doing it.
Nice.
So you can actually do. There's chat systems, and there's a voice chat system that's available. And like if you, I think maybe it's already in the new Steam client, but it's definitely in the beta version because I have the beta of Steam. But you can do like a chat server system thing like that, and just avoid Discord completely if you wanted to.
There you go.
Yep. We tried it on a Nabist YouTube stream, and it actually works quite well.
Oh, nice.
Nice. So something that isn't doing that well from Valve right now is Artifact. The game Artifact is not necessarily doing really good right now because of, apparently it's just too complicated to a lot of people. Because if you're familiar with card games, it's so different that you kind of have to learn a whole new system. Well, I'm not familiar with it at all, so it doesn't really bother me that way. But but anyway, it's really cool that they did day one support for everything. So it's awesome that they are putting the effort into it. But they started at like 60,000 players at one point, and then have now dropped to around 12,000 players. So I think the complications that they have of like just getting used to it is a factor that they need to look into. Like I'm pretty sure that there was a stream that Ryan did where he had a few complications, unfortunately, that I noticed where he unfortunately did lose the first 2 games he played, and normally that's not that big of a deal in the tutorial though. And
it's true. I lost in the tutorial. How do you lose in the tutorial? This is how you play our game. They always let you win.
Well, that does prove how complicated it is.
We can't teach this one.
but that kind of gives you an example of like it's pretty confusing. If that is a problem that people are having, then it makes sense that a lot of people are kind of dropping out of it. So they did say that they're actually going to work on making some changes and improve the game. But have you tried it out again, Ryan, since the last time?
Yeah, I really like this game. At the end of the day, when I compare it to Hearthstone, which is its greatest competitor out there by Blizzard, who does nothing for Linux, so we can go ahead and forget about them. When you compare it to that, I think it has all of the formula there for a fantastic tactical card game like this. It is a lot of fun. There's a lot of strategy. It's like learning to play chess with the different cards and things that you have to deploy. So there's a huge learning curve here. They don't take it easy on you in the tutorial, as shown in the live stream that I did. I got the game, I installed it, and I streamed it live, which was kind of funny. And I'll do that again with other games because then there's none of this pretending I know what I'm doing. You get the raw feeling of a game from the start, which I thought was kind of cool, and seeing people's reaction to it. With that said, there are a lot of things in here that kind of have made the game difficult to approach and also kind of a money pit if you wanted new cards and things. The good news is that they are listening to their customers. They are listening to the feedback, and they have made several updates in this very short period of time, changing things around, giving more options for people to get cards for free without having to spend their money, but basically through grinding and things, just like Hearthstone does it. And also creating more balance, because there's a lot to this game. It is ridiculously complex because you've got just tens of thousands of moves and counter moves and everything else. And they have to try to balance all of these cards out amongst every deck to make sure that everybody has a good time. And that's going to take time for them to get that all figured out. But they've got new free-for-all tournament modes in there. They also have it so that your cards now will say voice lines, because you couldn't chat before, which is probably a good thing because you can imagine what people would be saying to each other, which is the same thing Hearthstone does, by the way. You can't chat in that either, but you generally had a couple of little quips you could send out that voice actors would come in and do to kind of rouse your opponent a little bit. So they're doing that with their cards. And they have just more and more updates coming on the skill trees and progression system. So the good news is Valve's in it for the long run here. I think that eventually they're going to get these little things worked out. And it's a game that I still plan on continuing to play and hopefully eventually be able to beat the tutorial. No, I'm kidding. I actually did beat it.
Nice. So I'm just getting a little worried here because I'm waiting for the game of the week and I've been let off.
You were let off the hook.
Early Christmas present. No,
Merry Christmas, my friend.
If you are interested in cleaning up some hard disk space so that you, I don't know, maybe have some space to record the next version of Destination Linux, Michael, or if you are a presidential campaign and candidate and you need to delete all of your emails, whatever your use case is, we are not here to judge, but we do have a recommendation for you. That is BleachBit. BleachBit is this week's software spotlight. It's a particularly great piece of software, again, for Michael, because he's only got 200 megabytes of disk space, and so he's got to use it very carefully.
573 megabytes, thank you.
I feel like that's not a thing, because it's got to be divisible. Never mind. BleachBit will allow you to wipe thousands of applications: Firefox, Internet Explorer, Adobe Flash, Google Chrome, Opera, Safari, all of that stuff. It will integrate. It will delete all of these files, but it doesn't just delete them. It doesn't just mark them in the partition table as available to be written to again. It actually goes and writes bits back and forth, 0101, and alternates so that those files can never ever be recovered. That's something that I think is sometimes lost on people. If the file is deleted, then they assume, well, it's gone forever. It's not actually. The partition table just marks that space as, hey, you could write something over again. And if you use something like we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, PhotoRec, you can actually go and recover those files and just tell the partition table, hey, actually, I do want that data. Let's go ahead and pull it back. And BleachBit will prevent people from doing that.
Yeah, there's an application that was like this on Windows, and it's been so long since I've been on Windows now, I can't think of its name. Yeah, CCleaner, thank you. But basically go in there, free cache, delete cookies, clear internet history, shred temporary files, delete logs, that type of stuff. It was very cool to find and come across this one for Linux out there that kind of does the same thing and remove that tracing out there. And you're right, I got to the point now where, people who are not tech minded will basically hand me their old laptops, and they're too afraid to throw them away because they know that stuff can be recovered. So they give them all to me, which is fantastic because I get more toys to play with. But they give them out to me to wipe the hard drives off of them, and then I usually keep the laptops themselves. But it is an issue that comes across that people don't realize. Just you deleting your files does not make that stuff go away, and people can recover it with very little technical knowledge. It doesn't take a lot of skill to recover this information off of hard drives either. So it's a really cool tool.
Download the software and put it on a flash drive, which, by the way, is a service you can offer if you're an independent IT consultant and would like to help people recover the data they deleted.
There you go. Yep, absolutely. And Zeb, what is our tip and trick of the week?
We've got a couple this week, and it's all to do with terminal commands. So we know, apologies if you've already heard of some of these, but hopefully we'll have a few surprises for you. So here you are, and I think we were doing, I was watching a stream earlier where somebody was just trying to test various bits and pieces. So they started off a ping, and of course, unless you put a time limit on that ping, it's going to run forever. So whatever command you have started in Linux, you can actually do Control-C and it will abort that command. So in other words, it'll break it and it will take you back to the command prompt. Now, having done that, and you've now got your screen filled with lots of pings over to google.com, you need to reset that and get it off your screen. Otherwise, Ryan's going to have a go at you. So you can actually type the word reset, and it will clear the terminal just like you've opened a new window.
Yep.
You can also type the word clear to clear all the text from the terminal.
Reset will actually make it where you can't scroll back up, whereas clear, you can still scroll back up. It just kind of moves the thing back to the top, so it looks like it's been cleaned, but you can still scroll up if you need to.
So this tip reminded me, Zeb, of when I started in Linux not so long ago, and I would run a command, and you know how you accidentally maybe type something wrong, and it gives you the little blinking cursor underneath, and you can't. And I would just shut down the console, open a new one every time, or like you said, using ping or anything, I'd shut down the terminal window, open a new one, and then eventually I ran across this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that head slapping moment! Like it's just this command here. So very, very useful, and especially for newer users who may not be.
There's actually another one that's even better. So you can still do clear and type it all if you want to, because they are different. But if you do Control L, that will also clear it, just like the typing clear.
Nice.
All right, nice.
It's not just useful, by the way, for new users. Those of us who make tutorials
Yeah.
Use clear and reset all the time.
Right.
Oh, I screwed that up. I need to go back and make a new cut. I need the mouse to be in the exact same position, the window to be in exactly the same position so that I can edit it and nobody will know that it's been edited. Reset. Your friend.
Yep, absolutely.
And then whilst you're on the control key, you can also, instead of moving the mouse to go over to the X, you can do a control D, and that will close the terminal window for you. Now, this next one, I thought I was popping in here, and I thought, yeah, it'd be really, really good. And then, of course, Michael came along with his scenario. So let me explain it for you. There's a really nifty little command called history, and if you type history, it will just roll up your screen and show you every command that you've ever typed out. Now, for me, that's really handy. And then Michael explained afterwards, well, yes, it is and it isn't, because you're a distro hopper. So you've probably only got 200 commands listed in your history window. So the idea behind history is you type the word history, you scroll up with the mouse, you find the command that you want, and it has a number next to it. And then all you do is you hit the exclamation mark, which is shift 1. And Michael's going to tell me it's what's the shift 1? Bang or something?
I mean, it's exclamation, but yeah, it's called bang. It's one of the slang terms for it.
Like a bit like tack, but we won't go into that one.
Well, yeah.
So you hit exclamation mark 6, and it will just automatically run that command for you. So I find this quite useful of an evening when I'm trying to just lower the monitor brightness a bit. I don't use any of the applications you can do. I just use a quick XR&R command. So instead of having to type them all out again. And again, the beautiful thing for me is I now know that on my current setup, 11, 12, and 13 will one by one dim my monitors down to an acceptable level. So I just go, exclamation mark 10, 11, and 12, and I'm done. But as Michael pointed out, it's a bit difficult when you've got 3,500 commands queued up.
I have a huge history for my commands.
Michael, do you never go back and delete your bash history?
Not often.
So I'll just kind of expand. I know this isn't part of the official tips and tricks, but so one of the things that I'll do anytime I have to redo a machine, like if I've got a server that's been running and maybe I put it up 2-3 years ago and I don't remember, I think I know how to set it back up, but I'm not real sure. What I'll do is I'll export the bash history out first.
Stop 1 second. No, sorry. Noah, Zeb had a problem.
Yeah,
sorry.
We got to edit, so it's fine.
Sorry.
No worries. My bad. I completely cocked up and hit the wrong button.
That's all right.
No worries.
I thought I was going to sneeze and I hit stop video. No, I meant to hit mute, but I hit stop video instead.
Do we have to do anything with the video?
You got to just turn yours off, turn it back on.
No, you can
we could have kept going, Zeb, but then when you came back, you were like, you could lip read what you were saying.
All right, restart yours, Noah. All right, we're good.
Damned allergies. Oh.
Are we good to go?
Yep, we're good.
All right, I'll see if I can give you a nice cut point, Michael. One of the things I'll add that, I started by asking a question, didn't I? Michael, do you ever delete your bash history?
Occasionally, but I like to have to go back and search for it. But
So I'll tell you, speaking of going back and searching through bash history, one of the things that I'll do if I have to go reset up a server, and maybe it's a couple of years ago and it's been a little bit since I've gone through the installation process, I'll export the bash history out, because then even if I run into an issue and I'm like, yeah, I'm not real sure how I got that set up, at least if nothing else, I can go back and look at all of the commands I executed the first time I got the server up and running, and I can kind of follow it almost as kind of like a undocumented tutorial. But what I found is that, like you said, this laptop is, 3 years old now, and it accumulates tens of thousands of bash commands a year, because that's, what I do. So I'll find myself once every couple months, I'll export bash history out to a text file, put it somewhere onto a flash drive in case I ever have to go back and reference something, and then I start over fresh again, specifically to avoid the, hey, I have to find that command I found, and I don't want to scroll through 6,000 of them to get there.
That's a good point. I'll think about that.
Yeah. So can you let us know how to export that bash command, and we'll put it in the show notes, and then we'll know that we can organize it.
So your bash commands are stored in your home directory as .bash_history. So what you could do is you could just copy that file. Now, I'm a lazy human being. I need 3 or 4 reasons just to get out of my chair, much less go digging for a hidden file somewhere. So what I do is I will cat so CAT, which is essentially spit out in text, cat dot slash slash dot bash underscore history for that file, and then I'll put the little caret that I don't know what I guess it's a less than symbol, the one that
It's
goes to the
less
right.
than.
Yeah, the one that goes to the right, and then I'll put the date, and then bash history, and then whatever the computer name is, so Noah's ThinkPad or whatever .txt, and then that will export my bash history out to this text file that is now not hidden, so I don't have to go dig for it or unhide files or anything like that. And then I'll just move that little file over, and then just rm dot bash underscore history will delete your bash history. Interesting thing about deleting your bash history, and we got into this when we started building custom kiosk computers for people. If you delete your bash history and then you type exit, it rewrites bash history as exit. So you have to, it's a little more complicated. If you actually want the bash history to be completely cleared out, it takes a little bit more work. But yeah, the bash history writes when you close the terminal. So if you've done a bunch of commands and you're wondering why those aren't in your bash history, close out of your terminal, exit out of the terminal, then open again, and it will write to that bash history file.
Nice.
Michael will do the final one on this, and he'll explain how he searches through his bash history instead of having to scroll.
The rest of us can take a break while he explains this.
Okay, well, this is not necessarily the
step one of 10,000.
Okay, so now that I have the suggestion from Noah to export it and just use files, and I could use my text editor, which I'm going to do now. So this is no longer what I do. Control R allows you to quickly search in like a reverse search mode, and you just start typing what you want, and you can type it, type letters, and it'll like automatically output what you like, what matches it the best, and you keep typing more letters, and it will try to match even more like to whatever you might find. So I used to do that a lot, and you can also keep pressing Control R to show like what matches next in like a repeated message. So that's another option. But there is one thing during this discussion I realized there's two things that I use all the time and are incredibly useful, and a lot of people might not know. If you three things. If you use
save it for episode 102. That's your cliffhanger. Thanks for watching the show.
This is too applicable for this one to not include it. But you know how you can do home and end on your keypad, your keyboard or keypad, whatever, and you can go from the home and end will go to the beginning of the command line if you have a really long command, and end will go to the end. Makes sense. But if you hold Control and hit the left and right arrow keys, you actually will skip every segment, so each word will skip back and forth.
Nice.
So you can save time that way. Now, the reason why you'd want to do that is because you can't really use your mouse to click in a specific part of the commands, but you use Control arrows to get to where you want. Then, let's say, for example, you're doing sudo apt install application name, but you want to do multiple applications. So instead of going backspace multiple times, you hit Control left to jump the beginning of that, then hit Control K, and it will delete everything after the cursor. So you can just start typing whatever you want. And if you want to do, and something also similar is Control U, which will delete everything in the beginning before the cursor. So you can just, you can have most of the command already written and just clear out what you don't need and then add whatever you want. It saves a ton of time.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Well, there you go. That is our tips and tricks of the week, as well as our software spotlight. A big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux, however you do it. And I just want to say we love our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
And just want to give a special shout out for all of the incredible support, especially that's happened recently after episode 100 of Destination Linux, which was an awesome episode, a huge celebration. And thank you guys so much for supporting and all of the amazing, kind comments that you guys gave in the YouTube videos and emails that you sent, just telling us how much the show means to you. That means the world to us and helps us definitely get the motivation to keep going each and every week. And by the way, you can become a patron yourself and watch us do this show live. There is a lot of material you don't get to see. It's all mistakes, but it's still material you don't get to see. And you can also hang out with us after the show. And also before the show, you can join us as we wait for Michael to finally show up. And you could do that for just $1, which is darn near.
You can join the waiting room. Yeah, who doesn't love waiting rooms?
And Zeb, how can people get a hold of us?
Yep. Don't forget, send us your emails on anything you think about the show, any burning questions you've got. And we've got numerous methods. Comments at destinationlinux.org. We have a Telegram group, a Discord, a Google Plus, a Twitter, a Mastodon, and many other ways that Michael has set up for us at destinationlinux.org/contact. So keep them coming. And specifically this week, let us know what you think is the best distro and the best desktop environment for 2018 and why.
And Michael?
And also remember to like that smash button and share the show. Did it again. Share the show on social media. There we go. Got it. And also, just so if you're not aware, we all have our own individual channels and podcasts, things like that we do separately. So if you want to check those out, you can go to DOS Geek channel to find stuff from Ryan, especially the security video that he talked about earlier in the show. And also, you could check out the latest stream from Zeb, whether he's tearing down caravans or dire wolves. Those two.
Yep.
So you could do that at Zebedee Boss on YouTube. And you can check out the Ask Noah show, where you can ask Noah all kinds of things about business and Linux things, everything like that. Where he's here to do everything that people said you couldn't do on Linux. And
look at
I
that
have the shirt.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also check out my content at tuxdigital.com, where you can find videos about random Linux things, as well as the This Week in Linux news podcast that I do.
Superb.
All right, awesome.
So just before you finish, then, quick impromptu, Noah. Ask Noah, yeah? How do I stop dying in Walls of Midgard?
That's the one way you can stump him, is ask a gaming question.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I listen. I'll no scope you 1v1. That's like one of the 4 gaming terms that I have learned, and so that's just my go-to. Like I have like a repertoire, and I pull out one of those lines to make myself sound not as stupid as I am. Listen, let's play. Let's do a charity game. Let's do this. Let's pick a project, an open source project that needs some help.
Yeah.
And let's play and for they can have like Team Noah, Team Zeb, Team Michael, Team Ryan, and then we'll play against each other, and people can pledge a certain amount of money, to who's going to win or whatever, but all the proceeds go to that open source project.
I love it.
I like it. Yeah,
that's a good idea. We're gonna set that up, and obviously, if you choose DOS Geek Team, we're gonna win. So just put that out there.
Unless it's Rocket League.
I have more guns than he does.
I bet you don't. I come from the mountains, sir.
I know a way that we will get more money for the charity, though. They just donate every time I die.
Oh, that's very good. That's actually smarter for all of us, frankly. All right. Well, we will be putting some news out on that and how you can get involved. And until then, everybody have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We did it. Not a single mistake, Michael.
I have to do no editing. Actually, that last
every time we stab Michael in the back, that is genius.
That would be all the time. Yep.
Yeah, we could knife Michael.
You know what's actually weird? I was surprised that we didn't have at least one more edit point where Ryan just goes, "Well, since everybody else did it."
Someone said, I thought he'd say, "Fill your brains." You have no idea. We talked about this before, our taglines for our shows.
Oh, yeah.
It's so hard not to say them when you're closing a show out. Like, it's in my head every time.
Yes. I even sometimes say it like with Ryan's, like I'm watching his content, and then I'll do my show, and then and he'll show up in the chat. And I'm like, "Fill your brains."
So in radio they call that a crutch, right? So the things that you go to, because you don't have to think about it, like you said, it's in a different part of your brain. And so the nice thing in radio is, like, it's not just the beginning and the outro that you do it throughout the show, right? So you can go to those crutches and just kind of let your brain on autopilot for a second while you read an email or do something, and then come back.
You know, Howard Stern always does that. He to this day he can start spouting off the number letters and everything you have to call out for his radio shows back in the 80s and stuff. This is WZBT2, the greatest place to look for news.
It was funny too because somebody asked me one time. They're like, so one of the things I'll say during the show is I'll say the phone number. I'll say 1-855-450. No, it's 855-450-6624. You can send an email to live@asknoahshow.com. Make your voice heard. Become a part of the program. Now that's a good 12 seconds. That I don't have to be thinking about anything and I can be doing something else. Somebody goes, why do you keep giving out the phone number? People know by now. I'm like, right, I need that time. Because I'm loading the next article or something has crashed and I'm restarting a computer. Like, that's my time to work.
Also, it's actually beneficial. A lot of people don't know this, that if you don't do that often in your own content, you don't repeat those things that are like, especially for you with the phone number, that the people who are just now starting to listen to it won't have no idea. Will have no idea what it is. So it's just randomly throw it in. It doesn't take very long, and it might be annoying to some people, but they can get over it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anybody who's wants to turn on their camera, feel free to do so. As well as their
come hang
microphone
out with us.
And my apologies to everyone because I correctly turned off the video.
You don't join. You don't turn on your video shaking your head, Dark One. That's not what you do.
Everybody's brains out.
Ryan, it's only at you, buddy.
Look, Clifford with the Santa hat.
Nice.
Yay.
What's happening, man?
Bah humbug.
I'm
excited for Christmas, man. I am pumped.
Are you a Christmas guy?
Oh, I love it, man.
I'm a Christmas guy. My producer for my show was giving me a hard time because I come in here like 2 hours early and I prepare like a Christmas special. He's like, you realize nobody listens to the pre-show music, right? And I'm like, people listen. People want to be in the Christmas spirit, and they're going to celebrate Christmas. So 1 hour before the show, we're going to play Christmas music. That's right.
Oh, I'm annoyingly over the top with it. I mean, we got inflatables out in my yard. I have animated Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus that move and play music in my. I am ridiculous. It puts me in a good mood. I'm not in a good mood very often. This part, I'm in a good mood now.
You're in a new house. So
That's right.
Is like, it's even more special.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, we have a slightly difficult situation here because I have to get past my wife's birthday before I can celebrate Christmas. And it's the wife's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, man. Yep.
Okay.
Did you get a good gift?
I got a wonderful gift, and I bought the paper to wrap it in June because you try and go out and buy a birthday present, wrapping paper at Christmas time. And if I wrap it up in Christmas paper, boy, do I get hell for that.
Well, that's why you've been married so long, my friend, because you still don't miss a birthday and you still bring gifts.
So there's a charity in North Dakota that is doing it is the work of God, I swear. They you bring all of your presents, and for $1.50 per present, they wrap it. They put a ribbon on it. They put the little bow on top. They put the to and from tag, and then hand it back. So I showed up there. I was like, my cart full of stuff because they're in the mall. I walked there with my cart full of stuff. I'm like, have at it, boys. I'll be back in an hour. Get my $25 or whatever, and I have perfectly wrapped Christmas present. It is fantastic. I'm like, this is great.
Absolutely. I love the charity stuff you could do during this time too. Like we make our kids give away some of their old toys to some of the local charities, and then we also make them give away some of their new toys, the ones that they're not going to play with. And I think it's just there's a lot of good lessons to be learned in that. A lot of lessons that adults need to learn.
I was going to say, no, my problem with Christmas is I work retail. Need I say more?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that would be rough.
I think that's wrong, by the way. I hate the whole retail thing that they've done recently. It's really stupid.
So let's tie this into some Linux love. I had so Altispeed Technology, that's my day job, is what puts food on the table for anybody that doesn't know. The way that we work is we're open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Outside of that, we charge, and so our daily rate or hourly rate is usually $75 an hour. If you call us outside of that time, there is a $250 call out plus it's time and a half. So you're paying us $250 just to get somebody out the door. Plus you're paying us $25 an hour to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Now, for the most part, the $250 call out fee almost always gets waived. In 10 years, only one client has ever been charged that $250 call out fee. And that was a guy that was on Windows as a hotel. And I get a call on Christmas Eve, right in the middle of Christmas Eve dinner, where all, like, my whole family is over. I get a call, answer the phone. Hey, because there's nobody else answering the phone this time. Everybody else is off, so it's me. So Altispeed Technologies, one moment while I get you a technician. This is no, I'm your technician. How, you know what I mean?
I want to speak to the owner.
So here's what he tells me. Excuse me, my printer is not working, and we have a bunch of guests here. Now, first of all, that's crap. It's Christmas. They don't have any guests. Okay, nobody's checking in on Christmas Eve, so that's a lie. But I believe that your printer isn't working, so I tell him it's Windows XP. All you have to do is restart the computer. The printer's going to start working. Listen, we pay you guys to come out here and fix this. So you're going to need to come out here and fix this. All right, you're absolutely right. My mistake. I'll be right there. So I drive out there, walk in. Start, shutdown, restart, wait, log in, open back up, print. There you go. Thanks for the $400. Have a great night. Idiot.
Yep. That's what you got to do, though, because they don't respect. But that's what annoys me is that when I was a kid growing up, you could not go shopping on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. But now they have all of these stores that still open during these times, and they force people to work.
Not
and
around
I think
here.
That's so wrong. Like I've made a conscious effort to not go out during those.
The gas station is open, and that's it. Not
And
even the
Walmart.
grocery stores. No, not here. Walmart's shut here. We're done. Christmas Eve at 6 p.m.
Really?
Done. Yep. All day. They're done until the 26th, midnight midnight of Christmas. So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Everything is open here. Even today, Sunday, everything was open.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything will be open here as well. I mean, it used to be when I was a kid, it was just the gas stations. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now everything will be open until about 10 p.m. and then they'll shut down for Christmas, and then they'll be back open again. Midnight, Christmas night.
Yeah, we'll probably have a lot open on Christmas too.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
No, I have a question for you.
Yeah. Shoot.
Is your T-shirt available somewhere?
What?
Your T-shirt.
Can we buy your T-shirt?
Yeah, actually, I think it is.
No, the one you're wearing.
I understand.
No, thanks. Brand new one.
So if you often don't wash it, yeah.
Teespring.com/AskNoahShow. And yeah, you can order it there. I actually, the thing is, I never intended to sell them. I just made it because I wanted to have that shirt, and so I made them, and I order like 10 or 15 at a time, and I just give them away when I see people. But yeah, if you want them, it's teespring.com/AskNoahShow. And thanks, I appreciate the support.
You know why we know he's not making that up? Because he's selling his shirt for $14.99. Now you have to go through special settings if you've ever done a Teespring campaign, because they do not want you selling your shirt that cheap, because they make nothing on it.
I was going to say, that's the reason they give you the percentage indicator when you go down to like the $12.99 or whatever it is.
Right.
Well, Ryan, how do you think I paid for that troll sweatshirt that I bought?
Exactly. I got to get me a Noah shirt too. Hold on. It's important stuff here.
Because it's all Ryan's.
If I would have known there was interest in that, I would have just ordered like 10 of them. We should just start giving them away. Like the first person to turn their camera on after the Destination Linux gets a free T-shirt.
No, jeez.
I'm back. Yes. I win. All right.
That's 13 euros plus 12 euros for for shipping.
Yeah, you're going to pay more for shipping than the shirt itself.
You know what? I tell you what, if you send an email, just send an email to what's my email address? I'm doing a different show. I can't live at asknoahshow.com. Send an email and just say Noah said send me just send a thing with your address, and somebody will send you a shirt out. Just
thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's see. I don't need an extra large. Clicking extra large.
It's for the beard. It's to get over the beard.
No, the beard's kind of gone, man. See? It's
I know.
Shaved down. Somebody called me a hillbilly. I had to change.
Dude, really?
They did.
I mean, I know that you're from the South, but you're very much not a hillbilly.
I know. I was shocked. They didn't. They call him. Where's Michael? Will Michael leave? Michael. They called me a hillbilly in the comments. I was like, they're like, oh, you guys did not look like I expected. Ryan's a hillbilly. I'm like, really? Fine.
I feel like that's not accurate at all.
Yeah.
Well,
shut up, Dark One. You hillbilly.
I embrace the neck beard.
It's not just it's more. I don't know. So yeah, the neck. But like if he came on, he's like, "Hi, y'all."
Yeah, I know.
I got my sister over here and my cousins, and yeah, I mean, then that'd be then we would give him a hard time.
Hi, Atlantic.
Ryan,
Yeah.
don't feel too bad. I remember long ago the days when I wore XL vaguely.
Right, and now you've got so much muscle mass that
That's
you
what
have
it
to.
is.
That's right.
I have, and it's to get the t-shirt collar over the brains I've filled watching.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, that's what it is. I need the bigger shirt to get over my big head with the brain. Save address.
Ryan, too bad it's full of mush.
Shut up, Dark One. You're banned again.
Well, it's
Everywhere
good.
you go, you're being banned.
What a surprise. It wouldn't have anything to do with my content or my mouth. No, would it?
No. Like every time a Dark One video drops on YouTube, I'm like, all right, kids around, headphones. Yeah.
Not safe for work is an understatement.
All right, guys, look, I better go because these allergies are just killing me at the moment. So,
Good to see you again, Zeb. Have a Merry Christmas.
Take
See
care,
you.
yeah,
Zeb.
Merry Christmas
All right.
to everybody,
Bye-bye.
to my colleagues, Michael, Ryan, and Noah, and all of you patrons. You're just fantastic. So, have a wonderful Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Zeb.
Love
Catch
you,
you later.
Zeb. Merry Christmas.
Bye bye.
All right. I made my
Ryan,
order.
finally, he's gone.
Right, Ryan. Did you know that I have a whole soundboard full of Christmas music?
Well, I think you should play some to get us in the spirit.
Secret chord that David played and it pleased
Yeah.
the Lord, but you don't really
I
care
love it.
for music.
And then-
do you?
So that's if you're into the acapella thing, right? But I also have I have like cool Christmas mix that I don't think anybody else has.
But you need to play it off with the radio, like "Welcome to WXBZ 74.3." This is
Yeah, here's the thing. I can do that. I just always feel like a tool.
fair enough.
Playing today's top Christmas hits, KEQQ FM 88.3. My name's Noah on the radio. Delighted to be here with you. See, I can do it.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Right off
Yeah,
the cuff.
Nobody has that. No, well, it's. I mean, it's not. I mean, it kind of is, but that's how I sound on the radio. It's kind of obnoxious. The rest of them are, I guess. But yeah, I've got a lot of Christmas music, and I'm very proud of it.
Are you on Twitter at Ask Noah Show?
Yeah. Mhm.
Nice.
And if not, Colonel Lennox.
I didn't know which variation it was going to be.
Well, so Colonel Linux is my personal Twitter handle. Ask Noah Show is for the show.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I should have done that.
You should also follow Tux Digital and Michael Tennell on Twitter.
Well, of course, I'm already following that.
Well, there's only one small problem that require Michael Tennell to actually put something out on time.
No, it doesn't. Twitter is not real time. I can do it anytime I
Speaking
want
of
to.
which,
It's perfect.
Destination Linux really needs
best part
to
about
do
Twitter.
some work on its shirts, man. We need new shirts.
Well,
Michael, no, I'm teasing.
um,
We need a fan. We need a fan who's capable of doing some art to put together a Destination Linux shirt because we need a new design.
You wouldn't be recommending Carl, no, would you?
Well, we had Carl do some designs, but I want to see some other work too. Maybe we should do a contest for the next Destination Linux T-shirt.
well, I have a design concept I've already started.
Yannick, you want to do
Takes
it?
a while though.
You want to design us a shirt?
I'm not a designer, but yeah, I can draw something or ask my daughter to draw something.
There you go. That would be cool. You know what I would like is that cartoon that person's kids drew us. It would be cool to incorporate something like that into a shirt too. Yeah,
The email is sent
Actually,
now.
that would actually be the coolest thing because then there would be some meaning behind it as well.
exactly. Yeah, limited time, limited edition. And how cool would it be for his daughter and son to have their artwork on a shirt? Destination Linux.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. That's what we should go for. Mike was like,
We just
"No, it
got-
must be professional." Look
I
at you.
don't
I
know.
can read it. You're
I
lying.
literally
can see your
just did.
face. That was
I
the
don't know.
face of displeasure.
No,
I
that
don't
was
know
like
if I have- I don't know
good
if I have a
idea.
picture of him,
For once,
but
finally Ryan had a good idea.
we got pictures. We just redesigned our logo for Alta Speed.
Yeah.
And with that, we did T-shirts, and they're pretty cool. It says, "When people ask you what you do, tell them whatever it takes." It's like,
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
I like that.
I don't know if I have a picture of it though. Wah, wah.
Who does your artwork?
Oh yeah. Yours truly.
Nice.
Yeah. It's bit me in the butt a couple of times. I wound up with a logo that looks like a last time. So
I remember Michael calling that. Cracked me up. Yeah.
I love how people were like, "Does he know?" It's like, yeah, he knows.
oh, I know. I've been painfully aware. But here's the here it is. Yeah, I do have a picture. So let's see. Yeah, you can see the new logo too. I'm gonna put it in the Destination Linux group. There we go. So yeah, that's our new shirt that we gave all of the. I mean, obviously we've got professional polos too, but.
Ooh.
Let me put it up here.
Nice.
In the meantime, I have a question about Steam Link. Did anyone successfully use an Xbox controller with the Steam Link on the Raspberry Pi?
I'm not set
I
up.
haven't done it with the Raspberry Pi. I've successfully used an Xbox controller with the regular Steam Link.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't make it work with the Raspberry Pi. The funny thing is that you can control the big picture mode interface, but then it's not working in the game. So maybe I still have a beta version. I'm gonna have to wait for the release.
That's really strange.
Yeah, and well, I found some strange things because when I exit the game, for example, then I'm not in big picture mode. I have my desktop, so if I don't have a mouse, then I'm kind of screwed. It defeats the whole Steam Link thing.
I'm probably gonna set one up this week, so I'll let you know what I run into if I find a workaround for it. Because I've got to have that going. I got to try that out, see how it works. I got to get my Mozilla IoT set up for my home automation, for my locks and all of that stuff as well. So a lot of stuff to do in the new house.
So.
The who was it I was talking? Oh, do you know who Brandon Johnson is, Ryan? He is well, he's formerly of Red Hat. That's all I can tell you for right now. It's I can tell you more off the air, but he automated his house with Fedora. And one of the things that he's doing that I think is really cool is he is using a lock system or a doorbell system that is the only doorbell system out there that has network connectivity but isn't reliant on a cloud.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I've never thought about Fedora utilizing a whole distribution for it.
So they have made some upgrades in the latest version of Fedora to specifically for IoT. So they have designed. In fact, hold on a second, because we actually did an episode about this. And I can put you in touch with Matt Miller if you want to bring him on Destination Linux to talk about it as well. But
we've had Matt on.
That was the last one. Yeah, have you? So it was the last one that we did. It was 106. But we were talking about the Fedora and how it's been repositioned, or they're essentially integrating IoT devices and home automation stuff into Fedora. And so Brandon Johnson has actually automated his whole house with it, which is pretty cool.
That is
and OpenHAB and all those kinds of things. But yeah.
I'm trying to do the Z-Wave through the Mozilla IoT. And so but the problem with the Z-Wave is it's a GE technology. There are a lot of products out there that you can home automate utilizing the Z-Wave, but there are a lot of really bad ones. So you have to constantly go through these reviews, and a lot of them only have 1 or 2 stars, and see, well, is the person who set it up an idiot, or is the product crappy? It's kind of a hard thing to balance between there, but yeah. So I'm getting the Z-Wave locks set up, and we'll try to mess with that and see how those go. But that is always a fear, like what if somebody hacks it and then they're sitting there unlocking your doors?
That was what I was gonna say. Next contest will be to try and hack your locks.
I can't get out of my room.
First one who achieve that gets a free T-shirt.
A free Nats Noah T-shirt.
The locks I'm actually using there. It's not networked. The computer controls the door system is an integrated controller. Then there's a computer that controls it over a serial connection, and so I treat that computer as it's kind of nice because I can treat that computer as I would any other computer. As long as I'm doing OS updates and stuff like that, I can kind of keep track of could somebody access that computer, and that computer is the only gateway into the door control system.
Right.
So yeah.
I have my system is very complicated. It's called.
Oh boy.
Oh, locking a bolt.
Yeah. I got something called a key.
Yeah.
It's very secured on
How
the
does it work?
keyring. I have this keyring, and I have to take the key out of the keyring and put that in a lock. It's kind of a complex, yeah. I'm losing a lot of time each time I want to open my door.
Man, that's awesome. You know, one day people are going to look back at that, and that'll be the new hipster thing.
Yeah, it's like you're so retro, man.
Love it.
Yeah, I'd love to have one of those things that can sense your phone, for example, when you approach the door and opens the door for you, and then you.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Awesome, especially when you're carrying groceries into the house.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
or a kid on one arm and a dog on the other hand.
That'd be nice, but I like the automation stuff, but I automate like tools and stuff. I don't really have any automated house stuff.
It's expensive, man. It gets real pricey real fast. Like once you start getting cameras and everything, it's gonna end up costing a small fortune to get everything automated.
So now we all know that that's never gonna happen here.
Exactly. You're way too cheap. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. I knew you wanted to say it. I was just like
until somebody who joins your local Linux group gives you a home automation kit.
kind of like a Pine book.
Yeah. It's never happening.
I don't know what you're talking about. No one's giving me anything. They have lent me things to try out.
Have you returned said Pine book?
For an extended period of time.
Don't worry. That's not important. I mean, don't look over here. Don't look there. That doesn't matter.
Are you that neighbor that borrows a tool and you never get it back, Michael?
Where's my 10mm socket?
Okay. No, but yes, once. And it was like just 3 months ago. A couple months ago, the guy let me borrow the hedge clippers, and now it's in winter, and I never used them. until 3 weeks ago I used them, and the only reason I used them is because he said, "Hey, I'm moving. Can I get my hedge clippers back?" And I was like, "Yeah, wow, I'm gonna go do it and then give them back to you."
Do you own your house, Michael, or do you rent?
I don't actually. It's my girlfriend owns the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but you guys own the house though, so you're not moving. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer apartments anyway. I don't like houses.
So if we ever make your girlfriend mad, you literally will be homeless.
You're homeless. Yeah.
Nope.
It's kind of hot, actually.
I'll be a vagabond.
Man, there's going to be no editing when you're out in the streets borrowing power behind the Best Buy to edit.
Instead of Pine books and phones. Wow. I would just be like couch surfing on the Linux user
somewhere
group.
back there.
Linux user couch surfing.
I love it. Would anybody let Michael sleep on their couch? He'd never leave, so it's not really couch surfing.
That's not true. I would just be late.
He's like, you mean I could stay here for free?
You can stay here for 3 nights. 3 months later, I'm leaving now.
Only 3 months?
Well, that's the time span, you know.
No, your time span is like 3 seconds equals 3 years.
No, it ain't that bad. It's more like 3 weeks equals 3 years.
Okay, how much do I troll you in your own channel about being late?
Wait, you've stopped?
I said, how much do I?
That implies you stopped at some point.
No, that implies that I still do.
But that's a tactic, you know. You stop, and then people don't know when you're gonna.
I'm just curious, Michael. You know, like, I mean, you do you, but like, how do you manage to be late on your own thing? Like, I get it when you have to. I get it when, like, today, like, I was late, but I was scheduling with other people, and I was an idiot and misread something, and because I'm dumb, that happens. But like, when how do you miscommunicate with yourself? Like, that's a whole new level of...
He just leaves.
I told myself that I would be here at 2, and myself didn't understand that when I said 2, what I thought I was saying was 3. You know what I mean? Like,
so here's the problem. I do everything.
I'm so important. Look at me.
I do everything. I do. The problem is that I have to. I'm a crazy person. I have like 15 topics on the show, so I have to research them all, and I have to do all the documents, and I have to do getting all the visuals ready, and I have to make sure the editing's ready to go, and all that other stuff. So because it's my show, and I'm the only one doing everything, most weeks Ryan helps me sometimes, but most of the time I'm doing everything, and it's like the amount of time that I have to spend. I estimate it'll take me 5 hours, and then it takes me 8 hours or something.
Yeah,
like it's,
for sure.
Like, because it depends on how complicated the topic is and how much research I'm going to do into it and how much I want to cover on the show. Right. It's almost impossible for me at this point unless I have everything ready to go the day before. But then something happens on Sunday or Saturday and I have to re-edit stuff, and it's like, so I try to have like at least a couple hours every Saturday. I spend maybe 4 or 5 hours getting ready for finishing up the preparation. And sometimes, like last week, it was 6 hours, or like yesterday, 6 last week, yesterday.
Like the things you never can prepare for, like me and the dark one.
Well, I mean, there are things. That's why I started doing the pronunciation videos, because I can just make them anytime and crank them out and just like release them. That's why I started that. But I still have to prepare for those as well, because I'm a weird person. I'm like, I want to find the origin and the history of why they chose this name, and etc.
How dare you actually want to have good audio video production, Michael?
I know, right? How dare I? I got complained about the This Week in Linux graphics, the logo covering up a small little piece of the website that no one reads anyway, because it's a visual thing. I was like, I can't see the whole thing. You can't see the whole thing anyway. It's a small non-moving window, and the blog post is like 150 extra words. What are you talking about? And
I know who it was. It was Rocco, Big Daddy.
It could have been. It could have been.
It was a pixel off.
Yeah.
I've actually tweaked the Destination Linux visuals every once in a while, just to be slightly off and see if he says anything.
By the way, Michael,
wait to troll Michael.
And most people wouldn't notice it. It's like 3 pixels, and like various different the nameplates will be slightly lower, or the boxes will be slightly closer together than they should be.
He said never let people see him sweat, so he's never going to reply to it.
But I haven't done that since he said that. Like as soon as he said that, I was like, no, I'm not trying again. No, I'm done.
All right, so I have a question. I did that security video. A lot of people talking about Facebook stuff on there and looking for a replacement for Facebook. I mentioned Mastodon, obviously, but that a lot of people kind of seem to.
It's not really a Facebook.
Yeah, it's more of a Twitter thing.
Yeah.
Is there a good Facebook-like social media tool?
Sort of. And no.
What? Is it Diaspora?
That's partially. Minds is also one that could be a replacement. It's minds.com, MINDS, and it's a potentially decent replacement. But Diaspora is the one that's the most like Facebook. However, it's not really like Facebook, because there's nothing that really fits that paradigm. But at the same time, why would you want the Facebook structure? I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's
I prefer it right? over Twitter. Are you talking about as compared to like the Twitter structure?
As like trying to replace it. Like if you want to replace, like you want a self-hosted thing, because the problem with the self-hosted, like decentralized social networks, make no sense at all.
Of course not. How do you? That's like saying that's like saying I want a private meetup space.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's like I don't understand. Like,
do you want to meet people or do you want to be private?
Yeah, and all these people are like, I want to host it myself. Like, why? Because you're only the one person being there. Who cares? What's the point?
My issue with Facebook, Twitter, all those places, I want to not be censored. There are certain people, and I think we all know who I'm talking about. There are certain people who they take it to an extreme, and it's like even people like me who I've never met speech that I thought was too free, and I look at them like, you posted that, But
I trolled your dad one time on Facebook.
I know. It was actually brilliant.
It was fantastic because you liked it on there. I was like, that's even better.
Well, I was gonna say I got into because you were making sense. Anyway, point is that people post stupid things. Like I want to be able to post things, like even things from the show. Like I go to share things from the Ask Noah show, and then Facebook sends me this stupid thing, and they're like, "Pay us $18, and we'll let all the people that liked your page see your post." What?
Yeah, exactly. Your post is doing really well. Do you want to pay us money to make it do really well? Like if I already did the work in the first place, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got to run too. So, but thank you very much. It's been awesome. Sorry I was a little bit late. Glad everything worked out.
Yeah, no problem.
And,
Thanks
everybody
for
have
hanging
a
out with
Merry
us,
Christmas.
man.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. No.
I got to
And,
go too.
Thank
Take
you very
care,
much,
everyone.
patrons.
Yep. See you.
Merry Christmas.
See you, Clifford.
Bye-bye.
I actually don't mind Facebook because I don't use it. I mean, I actually hate Facebook, but I don't mind the marketing part of it.
Because I don't use it.
Like the marketing part of it is fine because I use it for marketing all the time.
Facebook is never going to disappear anyway, because even if we geeks want to move to other networks, then our family will not move. I mean, I'm not going to have my parents move to some other...
I mean, they will eventually move because Facebook's going to die. But
when Facebook crashes, yes. But that's the only option. If I go and tell my mom and dad, oh, don't use Facebook because it's not secure and everything, they go, what? I don't. Yeah, okay.
But everybody's there.
Yeah, everybody's there.
Yeah, I agree. That's most people's reaction. I mean, I don't use Facebook not because of the security thing, but because it's incredibly irritating. It is a cesspool of garbage. And it is the most horrible piece of crap app for any phone whatsoever. Like, it is the worst offender of draining battery for no reason. Your GPS will drain less battery than Facebook app. Like, that's stupid.
When you have to literally create a secondary app called Light that might say something about your application.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they separated the Messenger app and people were like freaking out. It's like, I have to get permissions to do this. Oh my goodness. It's like, you already gave them the permissions on the Facebook app. You didn't even pay attention to it. Like, why are you freaking out about this? They're going to see all our messages? They already do, stupid.
People not paying attention. Shock, surprise.
Like, it's more of the fact that they were like outraged that this is what the case is. And they were like, yes, you paid attention because someone made a big fuss out on Reddit. But that's how it's been for 5 years. So you should probably pay attention sooner than that. If you actually legitimately are outraged and you care that much, you should probably pay attention to the stuff you sign up for. But I actually use Facebook because it's good for advertising. It's garbage in general, but because so many people are using it, I'll put stuff on there and they go in, like, I'll market the show and stuff like that and get people to watch it because I've increased the viewership of both DL and Twinnel probably like, I don't know, 20% just with Facebook.
Cool.
So I mean, I hate it, but people use it. Although it is kind of funny to see all there is a lot of Linux-based groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
And actually, there's probably like 4 Red Hat ones, 3 Ubuntu ones, 5 that are just Linux.
Well,
some are very specific too. There's like desktop, like eye candy sharing versions. It's kind of interesting. But overall, whatever.
That's what I miss from Facebook, the specialized groups.
Yeah, those are useful.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing that's good about Facebook is groups. But I actually use...
like me, old cars and stuff. All the trade is almost
oh yeah, the trading stuff, yeah.
On Facebook. So, but I have chosen to close about a year ago when the shit hits the fan with Facebook. So, but yeah, you miss out on a lot.
I mean, it's actually nice though for me. I actually I still have a Facebook account, but I don't use it, and I got all the data has been like removed. Well, all the ones that I know that I have access to see that they have. But I still have it because of the whole advertising thing. But it is so nice not caring about Facebook, because like every time I go to Facebook, I look at the timeline, because when you go to Facebook to go to the advertising, it shows you the timeline the first thing. Like, you can't get away from it. So I go to it. I look at the first two because that's what they show in my face. And every single time, it is nonsense, hateful drivel. It's just, why are you so passionate about something so ridiculous and so so much hate-filled angst? It's like, I don't get it. It's not that big a deal. And you posting to people who already follow and like what you're saying is going to change nothing. It's like, So every time I see it, it's like family members or friends that say ridiculous stuff, and it's like, no, that's dumb. Yeah. I'm not reading anymore. Yeah. I actually had this one guy who I used to talk to and hang out with and played like board games with and stuff, and he's now like, he's like in the SJW section, but in the opposite. So he's like the degree of extreme the SJWs have, but in like the freedom libertarian style. So not necessarily Republican conservative and not liberal, but like the level of SJW thrown into the libertarian thing, and every once in a while he'll post something that's just like so crazy. It's like, I wish I could do this. And then I'm thinking, like, you could just stop being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm going to leave you now.
Yep.
Have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yep, you too.
Yeah,
you too.
I mean, it's pretty late. I should probably get to start editing the show. I have a lot to do this week.
As always, thanks for a good stream and letting me and Dark One trolling you. It's always
I enjoy it so much. It's immensely.
Hey, now, I was somewhat kind of maybe.
We do it, we love.
Yes, exactly. It's fine. It's fine. I don't mind.
Oh, we are getting it back.
I would never
Michael's
mock
actually
you.
starting to give it back now more than he used to.
I would never do that. I don't know what you're talking about. All Stars.
Lying sack of
what? I would never. I would never do that. Ever. I don't understand what you're talking about. So what weird, ridiculous distro are you using right now, Darkwing?
This thing is actually currently running Sparky Lemons.
There we go. Yep, weird, ridiculous distro.
With enlightenment.
Yep. There it is.
Hey, I had about 20 other desktops I could have chosen from. Enlightenment's the more sane of the ones.
Is it? They have an LS Cute version too. That's slightly, I don't know, actually.
Like a section of the show. What weird distro do you run this week?
Exactly. Hey, Dark One, what are you using this week?
What oddball out of the distro?
Exactly. And in the weird distro corner, we have Dark One.
What weird shell are you running with this week? Just because I find the weirdest desktop environments doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Upcoming on our new segment, Dark One's desktop distro dystopia.
Oh, that's great. I use completely sane desktops, thank you. Sort of, maybe, potentially, maybe not.
Yeah, you have like one that's just like out there. It's like, yeah, technically it's running something you've heard of and it's normal. Yes.
Actually, the machine I do my recordings on is straight Ubuntu 1804, but I installed Unity on it.
That's still weird, yeah. That's still weird. I mean,
why? Because I like a functional desktop that GNOME isn't.
No, it's like it's the compensation of like pulling Ubuntu back to where they were is kind of weird. But I like it. It's just kind of weird.
It's kind of weird because it actually makes functional sense. Because sorry to say, GNOME's garbage.
I don't like GNOME. I like Unity was actually really good, but I do like GNOME's workflow. I just don't like everything else.
No, I think I've gotten enough tirades about so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Probably should,
but I probably won't.
Probably won't. If you have just a specific video, random like we're gonna rant on GNOME now.
No, I've done one. I think I said broken by design.
Oh yeah. the GNOME rant.
Yeah, the GNOME. Nom, whatever rant.
Yeah. It's but anyway, I don't troll. I don't mind the troll. Wow.
I'll let you insinuate where the rest of that was going.
Hey, Michael,
I know where it was going.
what do you get if you merge KDE and GNOME?
Yeah, except for you would have gotten two
You get a
figures.
lot of options, but nothing works.
Nothing works. Well, I mean, I have the GNOME workflow on KDE. It works good.
Yeah, but you complain about me running weird stuff. You have a unique workflow to you.
Yes.
But then again, I can't say much because I have a unique workflow to me because, like, I showed you a picture of the Enlightenment setup. And it's like, people are like, how can you have the desktop switcher on the desktop but run, like, this little panel over in the corner? I'm like, it's just stuff that's out of the way for me. Like,
I have a ridiculous setup, and I am fully aware. And I actually replace all the plasma panels with latte docks because plasma panels are not very good. But I have like ridiculously specific, unique structure that if I don't have everything that I currently like, the only reason I don't distro hop and I don't update a lot is because I lose all of the settings that I did and I didn't write them down. So
all those configurations.
I have custom like just the keyboard macro thing. Just this is like
the thing with no keys number like on them.
Yeah, I'm actually quite used to it now. Like I don't even pay attention anymore. Like I can just tell where my hand is now.
So you sure you haven't hit the mute button on accident?
I've never hit the mute button on this keyboard. There's not
because that require you to stop talking.
I removed. I had the keyboard on it, and then I realized it wouldn't work, so I got rid of it. So I never accidentally hit it because it didn't matter. So it's never had one. I've accidentally done it for this thing, like actually on the mute button on the thing.
No, I know. I can't say much because when I had a Yeti, I did the same damn thing. Because you'd hit the button and then you'd go to talk. You're like, then you look down. You're like, damn.
Yeah, because it's so stupid. Because it should be a different color. It should be green when it's on and red when it's not. Like it's like the fact that it's a blinking version is just dumb. And like every time I look at it, I was like, I'll see it and it's there and I like, okay, I see the light and I look up. Oh crap! It's blinking. Like, what? It's such a dumb structure. But overall, it's fine, Mike. But I like yesterday I was doing the stream. I was like, everybody was trying to mess with me. I forgot who started it, but people were trying to mess with me.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, it wasn't you. You were doing other things, but it might have been Matthias, but I don't know. There was
What?
What?
What could I have said?
It was something about people saying that I was muted and stuff when I wasn't. So then I purposely muted myself and started talking, and all I was saying is, yes, I am muted. I'm aware that I've muted. In fact, I'm pointing to the microphone right now that it's muted.
It could have been me, but I don't think it was. But it's brilliant.
So we have to do reverse psychology in order for Michael to not talk.
No.
Or so we don't hear him talk.
No. Oh, well, yes. Wow. How dare you?
Say?
How dare you? But I actually I got used to the trolling, like, because Dark One pretty much did it immediately.
Yeah, but I do it as a sarcastic ass, and I'll be the first to admit it.
No, I'm just saying, like, it made me like when I first started doing it, when I first started doing YouTube videos, it bothered me when people trolled me. And then
but there's trolling, and then there's trolling.
Right. But I'm saying that, like, it bothered me in the sense of, like, people just being hateful, like, in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then after someone said a comment that was hateful but made me laugh, I was like, that is so mean but hilarious. I'm going to just leave it there. It was like the first troll that I was like, you know what? You get to stay on the comments. And I still remember what it was, too.
Went downhill from there.
And then after that point, I was like, you know what? I'll just deal with it. I don't care anymore. And then after, like, when I started getting to knowing you guys and you were just trolling me, I was like, you know what? It's kind of fun. It's like, you're not trolling in the negative way. You're just trolling, and that's fine. And also, every time you troll me, it's a valid comment. The fact that I'm late for my own content, like that.
That's the ultimate.
It's not unfactual.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. So I understand.
What is more sad that we sit there and waiting for you to show up on your own stream. You're trolling us.
Hey, that's a good point. That might be true. Yeah. I had people who were like, I forgot. I think it was you, Matthias. It might have been Yannick. Where somebody said something about if I do show up on time, that will be the troll because people will not expect it and they'll miss it.
Because my would be like, I showed up on time, and you'll have nobody on the screen.
No one was like, wait, what? What happened?
Everybody expects the 10 to 15 minutes after.
Well, that too. But if I could, if you go to the website for Tux Digital, there's the This Week in Linux page has an actual schedule of when I'm going to go live. It's not right ever.
Shock, surprise.
The day's correct though. I'm solid on the days. I actually got the show edited, recorded, edited, metadata structured, published, and everything before we started this show today.
You should have it as scheduled. When it says
times with asterisks.
I will definitely maybe yes.
So it's just I'll have a color coded system where it's like, is this true? Maybe, probably not.
Which is more likely? It's starting to burn. Yes.
It's like the scientific method of it's only more likely to exist.
Yep.
And no, I've never been able to do the whole jackass trolling. That's just not my way of doing things.
Oh yeah, people who are being just there's people who are
they're hateful.
Yeah, the hateful people, I will ban them immediately.
No, not the hateful. I enjoy trolling here because you can take it and you give back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I don't get offended by it or anything.
Then it's fun.
Yeah,
we're both enjoying it.
It'd be no different than it'd be no
maybe
different
a little bit more you, but
it's no different than sarcasm.
Like I say, I'm paying you.
That's fair. That's fair.
I mean, my take on it is it's no different than being sarcastic and face to face.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
And it's if I know you and Ryan take it that that's more by default for you guys now when it comes to dealing with me. Same with
every time I see a message and it says mention, and I check the chat and I always look for the name of who mentioned me before I read it. Because I see.
Don't want to see.
Yeah, if I see a few names, I go, okay, I expect the troll. Yes, it was. Okay, got it. So if you if you mention me, I will read it. If I don't comment, I still read it, but I completely ignored it. It's almost always because the dark one would ping me in Ryan's chat, and then just to mock me, I'm like, okay, I read it, but I'm not commenting. I'm not giving you the satisfaction.
I know you read it, so that's why.
The sport is to see if you react.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is when y'all troll me on the live chat, it's I can't not react. That's not. I can't ignore it. It's unfair. It's unfair.
It's completely fair.
And most of the time, I don't. I mean, I'll comment or at least throw a sticker in there. It's yeah, okay, you got me.
Well, it's kind of like on this when recording this, you guys threw a few jabs and I wasn't paying attention.
Right.
So,
exactly.
It's all in good fun. There's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it at all. The times where I get someone who, actually, what's funny is I think Dark, when you've talked to him, Bunny.
Yeah.
So there's a guy I play Rocket League with named Sweet Morbid Bunny, and we've been playing Rocket League together for I don't know, year and a half, 2 years maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we constantly give each other crap, but he decided to go onto the This Week in Linux live chat and troll me, but didn't use the Sweet Morbid Bunny name and used a completely different thing, and I had no idea who he was, and I banned him. And he was doing it in a kind of nice sort of way, but at the same time also a little bit snarky. So it was like I couldn't really tell who it was or like whatever. So I was like, nah, whatever. I don't have patience for that. And I banned him, and he sends me a message on Steam or Discord or whatever it was, or I think you texted me. I don't know, but he sent me a message. He was like, "Did you just ban me?" I was like, "Wait, what?" Oh,
my bad.
I was like, "Yeah, I guess I did. Whatever, I'll fix it."
Yeah. You let people like Matthias stay on. They're probably like, "What the heck?"
What? I mean, it was the first time he ever said anything at all in the chat. I was like, okay, it's a random troll, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll kick him out. But the earlier one I was talking about, the one time that amused me is earlier. If you could go watch the videos, but on the videos where I actually was on camera, I didn't have a beard at the time, and I had this weird little goatee thing. Like it was.
Oh, you had the soul patch thing.
It was a soul patch that turned into a goatee, and that's all it was, nothing else. And the goatee was like kind of long or whatever, like it was like down to here or whatever. And the only comment I ever left that was purely to troll me, that was mean to troll me, like trying to bother me, but it made me laugh, so I kept it, was, "You look like Mr. Bean's hipster cousin." And I was like, okay, that one's pretty good. I'll leave it. And when I go back and look at it, I was like, oh, he's kind of right.
One of those you go back and look and you're like, he's not wrong.
it's like I don't want to believe it, but it's kind of true.
And come on, my videos are not that okay. They're very swear laden.
I mean, your videos are they're something.
They're not safe for work, and then some.
Yeah.
So
There's the people who get
Okay, just because I called Vice the skid mark on the underwear of life does not mean anything.
What, mice?
Vice,
as in the channel,
like Vice magazine and Vice like media. For that whole.
I mean, BuzzFeed exists, so.
Touche. But it was in response to the whole like Naomi Wu thing that's going on there.
Oh, I have no idea what that is.
It's a.
Oh, is that the woman who did?
That's the Chinese technologist, basically.
Did she do all the 3D printer stuff?
She did 3D printer. She's an open source advocate over in China for IP law reform, and so that they respect IP, but they also use open source alternatives.
This is a weird way to describe it. Is she the person who does tech videos obviously she is using the fact that she has features?
Yes.
Okay. That she is totally aware and doing it on purpose and has the perfect camera angles where just for the weirdos, but not too much.
But on the flip side, she also knows what the hell she's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time.
And at least when she's building crap.
She knows what she's talking about, but sometimes she doesn't know the English word. So it's an interesting dynamic of like, how she's like, she can't say it, but she knows what she wants to say. And
it's like, that's
interesting.
It's like she did stuff like she built a, LED like skirt or something.
Yeah, it was an entire, like a skirt and, she did a skirt and a top that was all in smartphones or something.
Yeah. She's actually, it's weird stuff, but it's actually really cool.
It's taking the tech experiments of weird random experiments and then doing it in a way that is like exploitive to herself, but she's fully aware of it
and she doesn't care,
and she's okay with it. It's like that's very weird, but more power to you. I don't care.
Well, basically, because of how China is, that with the censorship. Okay, I use censorship very loosely, but the morality standards, shall we say, or from the government are weird. She was on Patreon and basically.
Oh, I saw that. That's where I saw Subscribe Star the first time. Because she went to that.
Yeah, because Vice, she can't talk or doesn't want to talk about her private life.
Yeah.
Privacy. It's a weird thing, especially in China.
Oh, she doesn't use her real name and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And someone had asked about, oh well, one of the Vice guys said something about like, oh well, you don't really do, according to this Reddit thread, you don't actually do all this stuff, like make it and all that crap. It's like your boyfriend or something.
I mean, she doesn't do everything, but that's impossible because she wouldn't be able to do certain camera angles. Like, she has to have a camera person.
Yeah, but like, no, what they were like, this Reddit thread was claiming that she didn't build any of the stuff.
Oh well, that's ridiculous.
And Vice kept poking at that issue and wanting like background information and all this other stuff. And she's like,
who cares?
No,
who cares?
Like,
even if she didn't do anything and she was just a performer, who cares?
Who gives a crap? My problem was like the only issue I took with Patreon on this whole thing was their support was abysmal on it, because they're like, her response unfortunately was, I don't want to say a dox, but
I mean, I understand why.
Basically her mentality was, okay, you want private information on me, I'm going to give private information on you.
That was kind of stupid, in my opinion.
I totally agreed. It was a mistake. It was bad decision making. Consequences, of course, should be had.
Right. But
I don't think a complete deplatforming is.
I mean, if you dox the platform or somebody on the platform, it makes sense that they would kick you out because you're violating some very big issues. But at that same time, she's in a situation that's really awkward. I mean,
because that's where my take was. Like, sometimes you have to, as much as I love black and white, like, you're an idiot, you're not an idiot. Unfortunately, there are these little slivers here and there where you have to look at the gray areas.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely complicated. But at the same time, people are talking about, like, getting rid of, leaving Patreon for Destination Linux and Tux Digital, and wanting me to find another option. And what was interesting is someone who was a DL patron said that they were going to leave, and they wanted me to see if there was an alternative. And I was like, I mean, not really. Most alternatives kind of suck, so there's not really an alternative. And they took that as me saying, no, never, I don't care what you want. And I was like, wait, what? And they had left the channel, left the group, and all this other stuff. And I couldn't send them a private message because they blocked me, or I don't know. But I found like an email or something that they had sent. And I was like, just to clarify, I'm looking into it. I was just saying that nothing exists right now. And if I had to do it, I'd build it myself.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, I understand why they would, like, the way I worded it was weird. And I read it back. I was like, oh, that can't make sense.
It kind of, one of those,
yeah,
it's different.
Yeah,
when you read
verbally,
it, it's different from when you say it.
Right. Because it looked like I was being harsh, and because I was just being direct. And I usually comment, like, because I get so many comments now and so many messages on Twitter, Telegram, I'm very, like, direct most of the time. And it's just because of, like, time saving things. So I did that then, and it was like, it was just interpreted in a way that understandably where it came from. But I was just like, oops, need to explain where that happened. But,
oh come on, direct. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm never direct with you. I've seen you probably. We had a conversation one time where for like an entire day I would send you maybe 2 words at a time.
Yep.
I was like, I agree.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And but sometimes you'll send it to me while I'm preparing a show or while I'm doing like something like just doing a video or thing. It's like,
you're doing shit. Like, I don't expect you to fucking. Oh, whoops, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not complaining or anything. I'm just saying like that sometimes if I look at my, like, let's just look at my Telegram right now.
3,000 messages.
I have 4 people who have messaged me directly, and if you count the groups that I'm in, 57,000 unread.
You'll get to those at a clear.
I will completely commit Telegram bankruptcy immediately. Like the ones that
Telegram is your version of email, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I actually pay attention to my email, because people who send me an email at this point, they're putting in the effort to find the email that's in the email, and it's like a legitimate thing now. It's less. Telegram is more spam than email is now, which is super weird. But But if someone mentions me, like that's if someone mentions me in a group, and if you ever see it and they don't actually use my name, I probably did not see it. If they actually like directly mention my username, I'll see it. But I've actually gone to things where people will say my name and they're referring to me in DL and just use the Michael, just Michael. I did not see that. But a couple times I'll see it that it happened because in a reply, Darkwing will be like, "Yeah, that totally is," and then like,
I would never tag you and stuff.
I mean, I don't really mind at all. It's better if someone tags me than because I will not. 90% of the time, I won't see it if I'm not tagged.
And actually, I really don't. I troll you like personally, but I really, other than the time thing, I really don't troll you that much.
That's true. There's not much to troll. I'm usually great.
In a timely manner.
Yeah, people, right? People troll me for the shameless plug stuff and the time stuff and my hair thing. Like people think that I care too much about my hair.
Well, the thing is, you play that up too, which is great because people.
What do you mean?
We're just jealous. You have so nice hair. Sorry, wig. I mean wig.
Ooh.
Banned.
Wow.
Banned.
Oh, he's got a better wig than the guy that's in charge of the country. Then.
That's true. Oh, okay. Actually, I gotta go. Someone just sent me a message. My girlfriend needs to get something for her.
Sure.
So I will talk to you guys later.
Oh,
actually,
me, I have friends.
All right, later, Michael.
I actually gonna post.
Take care, Michael.
Yeah, I'm gonna post another video that's not the podcast, either one of these podcasts on my channel this week. And actually, one of them will be a pronunciation thing, but another one that's not, and it will be something completely different, and it will be this week and not be pushed back. Stop the whole moving on thing. It will be this week. So I thought,
I'll believe it when I see it.
You didn't believe it the time it did happen. You just like, no, that's not true. That's not happening.
Well, that's what scheduled posts are for.
That's true, but I actually have to make those videos in the first place and make those.
Touche. So. Kind of like Hannah Montana Lanks reviews. Anyway,
on that
bye,
note,
Michael.
How do you know that's an imposter of Michael? He's on time.
Something is wrong.
Yeah, that can't be right.
All right. All right, I'll see you.
Thanks, man.